call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes, it did, did you? I'll make a motion.
Jim Roberts makes a motion to approve the last month's meeting minutes. Second by Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the agenda that we're looking at. Everyone in favor of the agenda?
I would, it's more so, I guess under old and unfinished business, I'd like to add the Emmons County Housing Authority position update.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Good.
And then, just a particular topic under Russ with the road department would just be dust control. Before the 7-inch rain,
Yeah.
I did get some calls on curiosities of dust control. I don't know, I mean, I know we talked to Skylar before, we probably talked to Francis before. Just curious on Russ's opinion, if he's got any specific ideas that could help with some of these residences that are really close to the road. If he's got any, cause I got questioned by people, just like maybe considerations of them even cost sharing, not like they were serious about wanting to do something, so just more of a specific topic for Russ, I would like to just get his opinion on, so.
Okay.
So dust control for the road department, and then that housing authority update would be two things I would suggest adding.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that? Do we have a motion
Yeah,
to approve the
I'll make a
agenda?
motion to approve the agenda with 2 additions.
Okay.
I'll
Second
second.
that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business, we got Mr. Craig Kitson, county roof section discussion.
More than everybody else is way doing today.
Do what?
You wanna go through that old business?
Oh, the old business, we wanna go through that first.
The only quick update I would have is that Katie Holzer had declined the
That's what
nomination.
she
said
Oh, she did.
She just doesn't feel like she can commit to it, so, anyway, the search would continue, I guess, so. I had a few,
Anybody else?
I had a few other people in mind, but after Katie had,
She doesn't want.
kind of turned us down, I ended up, I went on vacation, a few other, so I just kind of got lost in it, but anyway, the search continues, so.
Okay.
That's the only real update, so.
She declined. Well, keep looking, I guess, right?
Yep.
What does that position do exactly? Do you have any idea?
Well, the main thing would be is there's several places in town that are under the administration of the Emmons County Housing Authority. It's generally some kind of government,
It's
low
the
income
apartments
quality.
up by the KC Hall and those other apartments,
Strasburg.
Oh,
behind
okay.
like the bank,
Yeah.
Unicel.
Oh,
And then
the
it's by
Novak
the post
apartments
office,
and all those.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Strasburg has some too.
Yeah.
Is that all part of it?
Yes, Emmons
Okay.
County.
Oh,
It used to be with those Hazelton apartments, they had some affiliation with that too, but now those got sold to a private person. But it's generally like low income qualified housing,
Yeah.
and then you need a board, just like anything, if you're gonna receive state or federal funds, it can't come right to the county, it's gotta go through
Right.
Oh,
a separate board, so that's why we have the housing authority board. I believe they met bi-monthly,
And that was quarterly.
or was it quarterly, quarterly and as needed, so I mean, it's not a huge time consumer, but
Who's all on that? Is Weiser still on that? Jim?
I don't know, we went through that board there, well, cause
I know, without having my list in front of me and then.
it's not as probably in-depth as it used to be, because several of the projects over the years have gotten sold or changed, you know, they used to be even a lot more like in each town, but, so, it's basically just in Linton and Strasburg, I think now is the only ones they have, there's just, it's mostly in Linton, there's 2 or 3 different, like the Nodak homes and stuff like that.
Well, the soccer
It's
apartments.
got Von Miller apartments on there.
David Watson.
Are there soccer apartments?
Jay Block is on there.
See, I'm not quite sure,
I don't
like I said,
know.
because even like the ones in Hazelton used to be a part of it, and that got sold through, because they weren't renting them, and that went private now, so.
Okay.
Some of them have changed hands over the years, the good news is it's not a real active board, so, but the thing is, you don't hear much about them, it's just because there's not a lot of
They just
changes.
meet here for lunch, and their meeting, they don't have to go anywhere.
Most of it is just the distribution of funds, make sure the bills are getting paid, it's, a lot of the housing comes with regulations, so I don't think they have a lot of sway on like remodeling, a lot of it has to come with funding and regulations, so they just administer the funds that come into Emmons County for public housing essentially.
So someone on the board wouldn't be willing to step up and step in and be the chairman, it might be easier just to replace someone.
Do you mean have one of the commissioners do it?
No,
Oh.
no.
So I was gonna say, I'm on several boards, right? You looking at me bringing it up, Jim?
No.
You know.
So we just need a board member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we need one board member, cause Mel Johnner was on and he passed away, I don't know
Okay.
while he was still
We
on, so.
don't-
And it has to be from the city of Lincoln.
It doesn't have to be, the general rule was always you try and get one person from each area, that way there's equal distribution, but it's getting more and more difficult to find people to serve on these boards. I wouldn't object to somebody from Strasburg or Westfield or Hayes, even though it's technically like a Lytton spot. It's, I don't think it's such a big deal anymore because it's not even dispersed amongst the county like it used to be.
Okay.
So I would say, if you can find a county resident that's willing to serve, I think you'd be wise to just bring them on, so,
You interested, Cecile?
so.
Now that you ask, yeah, I might be interested.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I think it'd be a good thing to consider, and if it's something you want, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good,
Thank you, Craig.
Okay,
good,
with that,
There we go.
that's the update.
all good? Okay. We will move on to the next item, Mr. Craig Kitson on the county roof section discussion.
Morning, everybody, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
So pretty much one of the last sections of roof that we really have left to do is honestly the one that's right above our head. We're starting to get the rubber that's pulling away from the parapet wall section of it, so it's time to get that done. So this is, after this one, I think we've got quite a few years before we'll even have to look at redoing another roof
I
section
gave you
again.
guys all a copy of Twin City.
Yeah, I see that.
In your packets, this one, you have it.
There you go. No, got the one there. Here it is, I got it.
Okay, I'll push it up.
And if you go on the reverse side, it's got the estimate from Twin City on that one. I know, back in 2023, when we had the last roof section previously from the auditorium, because I know any overages that we had that went on that one came out of the ARPA funding to kind of help cover that one. But the last time we did the other, upper north roof section in 23, the original quote on that one came out to be $31,795. And I had asked for about $5,000 for overages just to kind of cover the insulation cost, because there's gonna be some accrued costs, more than likely with insulation that needs to be replaced. And I think we agreed $2,500 after we came to that conversation on that one, but the actual total for that section came out to $36,115. So that's just, a difference of $4,320 from when we did that last upper rough section. So that pretty much that's the price that's gonna be on that one, so I'm just kinda asking maybe for just a little bit more, so we're making sure we kinda got that covered, just to make sure that, cause I guarantee we're gonna have some overages on it, cause every section that we've done, we've always had insulation that's needed to be replaced.
Is that part of why there's a leak out here?
Very good possibility, yes.
That's part of the roof that would be getting fixed?
Yes.
And would this happen in 26?
Yes, 2026, so pretty much this would be locking the price in for next year.
Oh, sure. So why do you need a roof? That doesn't.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, building.
Like
permit
fixing the
without
rest
one.
if you don't fix the roof, that's true, yeah.
Pretty simple.
Would the city be the ones to do the landfill, the dumpster then?
Actually, the landfill on that one, I think they have to haul that up to Bismarck, cause you have hazardous waste materials that are in with that one, so they wind up bringing down their own dumpster, they have somebody that comes up from Bismarck to dispose that one.
For flood homes that are tore out.
Right.
Right, so yeah, this would really qualify. Dumpster maybe, yeah. But
We really don't have any options, do we, other
The
than
other
this
one would be
outfit?
cool off, you know.
Not really, no, it's.
Right, you're familiar with it.
Yeah, and Twin City's done a very good job, I know like this, they do the school just about every year, every other year when they do their roof sections as well, and I've been super happy with them guys, they've been great to work with, I know Rich, the territorial manager that you deal with, he's an awesome guy to get a hold of, and he's really good to work with, and his crews are very good crews to
So
work with,
basically,
too.
we're just approving the fact that we wanted to go ahead with this, lock it in, and then we'll just budget it next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Twin City Roofing,
As
to
is,
repair this, to repair the roof.
a motion by Gardner, is there a second to the motion on the Twin City roofing project on the auditorium, or on the courthouse?
I'll second.
Miller seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Alright, thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
Yep, you're welcome.
Keep up the good work.
Doing my best, buddy, doing my best.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Equalization of the assessments, cities, townships, and unorganized.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys all have a handout that looks like this,
Okay,
a sheet like this.
got it. Yep.
Okay, guess we'll start at the top, with the, disabled veteran credit and homestead credits. For the coming year, the state legislature just passed, the measure to increase the maximum reduction for the disabled veteran credits to 9,000. And the homestead property credit will stay unchanged. So there's a list of the current applications on file for the homestead credit, 17 of them for the county. And then Hazelton had a last submission. And then we have 12 veteran credits for the county. And then you can see the total numbers for the county wide, including the cities and the townships. So we just need to approve that portion of it.
I'll make a motion to approve the homestead credits and the veterans credits for 2025.
Mr. Gardner makes a motion to accept
Second.
the homestead and the veterans credits. Is there a second, Jim Vanderhorst? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, then moving on to property exemption list, it is the same as last year, so there's nothing really to report on that.
Could you pull that mic up a little closer,
Oh,
please?
sorry,
Thanks. I'm hard of hearing.
okay,
We're all deaf on it.
Huh?
We're all deaf on it.
apparently he is hard of hearing. So the property exemption list is the same as last year.
I shouldn't say no. No, okay. Why wouldn't the other churches also be included?
They're in the city,
Because they're the cities?
yeah, they're in the city, they're exemptions.
All at Westfield are organized.
Okay. Okay.
So it looks
Is
okay.
there any questions?
No.
Anybody? Is there a motion to accept the property tax exemption list?
So moved, David.
I'll make a motion to.
Jim, second by Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion opposed, motion carried. What's this all about?
Okay, so next up are the notice of increases that went out for the county. Everyone that went up $3,000 and 10% got a notice and they got notified basically why they went up. If it says a basic reval, that means they just got swooped up in the mass reevaluation of the county and looking at the market changes and everything, they went a little bit over that threshold. And then of course there's new construction values in there. So you can see the percentage difference and the value difference and then their current values.
Chris, you said these are just the changes.
Those are just the ones that got notice of increases.
Okay.
Oh, increase.
Mhm, mhm. You can see I'm on the list, so.
Check it if I'm on there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Check your mailbox.
Yeah.
And all these people got notices they can appear today.
Yep, they got notices. Notices were
Oh,
sent out
if they were,
on the 15th.
Okay.
if they were gonna object, they should.
They have to
Should be here today.
Correct.
Yeah. The no one's here. So do we need a motion to approve this here, guys, or?
I don't think you do. We'll just approve all the parcels
Okay,
at the end.
okay, okay.
Yeah, and I would wait until at least 9:45, just because technically that's like an open hearing, so.
Okay.
Really, what we do is generally just talk about things till 9:30, 9:45, if nobody comes in by then, you can start. I mean, approving the veterans credits, things like that are fine, but
Okay,
I wouldn't approve any valuation changes unless someone comes to dispute them, so.
okay.
They have to come here to dispute if they were going to dispute it all the way up to the state. Like, just so you know, there's like a chain, like,
Okay.
you can't go straight to the state unless you go to your local subdivision, either your township, county, city. So that's why you have
It's a
to,
stepping stone.
so,
Okay,
that's why you gotta make sure you give them their time here, so they get in the minutes, that's proof they were here, if they're going to dispute it all the way up to like the state board, so.
Okay.
So then we get into the overall values. We did see a bit of a hike in residential values, and that's because sales are through the roof, as everybody probably has noticed. So, like you can see, basically in the rural county parcels, residential dwellings went up overall at about 10%. I held the land, this pretty close to what it was originally last year, residential land and commercial land, they held their values. And commercial properties in the county went up on it, overall at 13.5%. And then we all, the farmland, we already had talked about that a few months ago, and that's, we went up about 3% to get in within tolerance. So these amounts that we went up on the residential and the commercial were only to get us into tolerance with the state, so the state wouldn't come in and say that we had to jack up our rates.
Well, that happened a few years ago, didn't it? Where the state stepped in.
Well, that's why we hired.
2011 or when that
Long
was,
time ago.
that was quite a while ago where Emmons County played chicken with the state. Emmons County lost. Emmons County lost.
Yeah.
So
When the state comes in, they go right to 100%.
Right to 100%.
Correct.
they don't
We
bump
can
you.
be at 93,
90 to 100.
90 to 100, okay.
yeah.
I think that year
Big jack.
it was at like 89.1 or something, and they decided to let it ride, and the state came in and pushed them up like 11%.
Yeah, boy.
Something like that, 88.1 or something. It
Did
was
you go eat donuts in it?
It was a huge increase. I wasn't here for that. No, I wasn't even living in Emmons County yet. I worked
You
somewhere
did, you had to
else.
buy your own.
That's wrong major, they'll yell at for that. But, with these commercial increases, would that also, does that include like the lots that aren't developed yet?
The
Like
lots
lake
that
lots?
are developed, they held their values about the
Okay,
same.
but those are considered commercial, right?
They are,
Until they're built on?
Until they're built on,
Okay,
correct.
I was
Yeah.
just curious about
Yeah.
that.
So we didn't have enough residential or commercial sales this year to have, the state's, what their minimum qualifications that we needed, so I had to go and use last year's values too. So just to give you an idea, if we would have held our rates, and not done a mass appraisal this year, we would have been at a threshold on the residential stuff at only 84%. So with these increases, you're seeing, we got up to about 91.5%. So we're just kind of weaken in there.
We get in there.
So hopefully the state doesn't balk at the numbers, but we did go up, you know, like it shows on the residential dwellings overall 10%. And I did already warn Linton that their values are gonna need to go up.
Yeah, and it
More
seems
than
like
the
we're off
rest
to the
of-
races in 25 as well, it looks like in Linton, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a few home sales already that are,
Yep, and I would definitely recommend doing just a mass appraisal of the whole town and raising the levels there, because they're out of whack. The rest of the towns, they were pretty easy to get into the tolerance, but Linton was really difficult.
isn't it crazy how you can get out, I mean, we just were appraised by a company 10 years ago, 8 years ago? And we're out of whack because of home sales,
Yep,
not, you know what I mean, not because we haven't raised taxes when building permits came out and values went up, because home sales are so much, I mean, they're stupid.
yeah.
I've looked at my
is-
wife and said, maybe we should sell. I live in a cardboard box.
But it's,
Yeah.
you know, this is one of my biggest gripes being involved in county government. Same with city and everything when you compare it to the state. Cause the state likes to blame the subdivisions for property tax. The only reason a lot of those need to be evaluated the way they are is because of the thresholds they mandate on us. So that's why when Senator Hogue and Representative LaFleur and the leaders of the legislature wanna talk about skin in the game and all these different analogies, I mean, they're killing us on property tax, because Lytton might be fine operating the way it is, and then the values of the homes go up, which is in theory good for the town, right? I mean, it's broadening the scope, and, well, now all of a sudden it's mandating property tax increases whether you need it or not, because there are demands on the state level. And that's why I've preached, and even, I know my dad's brought it up at the legislature about why don't you lower the thresholds down to 80% or 75? If you're gonna blame the counties and the cities, then give us the room so that we can get blamed. Cause if we're at 91% and then you blame the state, you're like, hey, what's your county at? Well, they're at 91, well, they could be all the way down to 75, why are you yelling at us? But we're sitting here, we could probably survive on 84%, 85%, we could probably do the things we need to do,
At that rate.
but they don't even let us, so you're mandated to raise it again.
And then they put a cap on us as far as when we do wanna raise, you know?
Well, right,
They
and
want,
then
they wanna tell us what we can and can't
Right.
raise, but yet they wanna cap it, and we're trying to hold the line and say we don't
Right.
need to raise property taxes, cause we're doing
Right.
okay.
So
But
what
yet they
happens
want us
when
to raise
that,
property taxes and-
what happens when that cap doesn't match your devaluation?
Right,
You know, all of a sudden we have to raise it this high, well, now your budget's getting too, like, it's always this caps and minimums, like, there's a place for them, I'm not gonna say they totally don't work, but this is a perfect example of like the city of Lytton will now be forced at some point to raise their taxes.
we have been.
Well, right, but you're gonna be forced to by the state, even if you're just like, you know what, I don't think we need to go up 2% more and keep raising some of these lower quality houses up and making them unaffordable for people, or, that's where, I mean, nobody at the state usually listens to our meetings, I wish they did, but.
I agree. No,
I mean, it does, it frustrates
with
me
you
when you're,
100%.
it's like the conversation, it's the same conversation that the commissioners had 14 years ago or whatever, when they didn't wanna raise, they're like, no, we're staying at 89, and the state made them, and I think that's part of the conversation, I bet if you look back into the arguments was, let's make the state make us do it, cause we didn't wanna raise our taxes, so.
Well, the city's the same, I mean, Christina basically told us, next year, we probably are not gonna have a choice. So then we're brainstorming, well, maybe we raise land values on everybody's property a little bit, you know? Which really, land values probably haven't really gone up, it's just, sales are good, so you can ask whatever you want, people are buying houses. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we want, you know, somebody gets a great deal selling their house, somebody pays them way more than it's worth. We don't really wanna raise everybody's taxes 10%, I mean, we already do that a little bit anyway, you know? 10 ranch style houses in Linton sell, you know, at 60%, we all get a 10% increase if you own a ranch style house, or a 3% increase to cover that, you know?
Yeah.
But this is gonna be, we're gonna have to, like Aaron just said, even the tiny little houses are gonna become unaffordable, cause we're not gonna have a choice, we're going to have to raise it. But we're not asking for the extra money in the city, I mean, we can use it, but we're making do, and we don't wanna raise taxes, but what do you do?
Well, and then you get the argument too that, you know, everybody's taxes are gonna go up, so now some $20,000-$30,000 house in town went up $100 or whatever. They're mad about that, and then they go, well, I don't get any more services for that, well, nobody was telling you we were gonna provide more services for that,
Yeah.
the state made us go up, like, that's the frustrating part, almost of what you would consider like an unaccountability. They're not even accountable to the system they've created, and then they wanna blame us all the time, whenever
Yeah.
when they go to the coffee shop and get yelled at for property taxes, they blame the county commissioners, not even realize that, I mean, even your training, right? Everything's through the state, right? I mean, you have to, the state tells you if you have the authority to do these things, right?
Yeah.
So our own tax assessor
It's controlled.
is essentially a state employee, with no disrespect, but all your qualifications, all your century code, everything comes through the state tax department. All our regulations, everything we're doing here is state centric.
State run.
This isn't county stuff.
Yeah.
This is what they tell us we have to do, and that's fine, but then don't go on the radio and blame the local subdivisions
Yeah.
when every rule that you've made to make us do the things we have to do. Now, there's probably bad actors that have a budget out there they maybe shouldn't have, I'm not gonna act like that, but counties like Emmons, we're not like that. And we're gonna be forced to raise taxes more often than not.
Well, and I've been trying to prepare people in Emmons, or in Linton, telling them, you know, we're going to have to raise, but we're going to try to raise the minimum, cause if we don't raise, the state's gonna come in and go to 100%.
Right.
Yeah, right.
If people understand that, you know, you tiptoe a fine line, but you try to get within tolerance so that the state doesn't come in, because when they come in, it's not to 91%, it's to 100%. And I had been preparing people that have read that in the paper that, hey, we're way out of tolerance and we're gonna have to do something, and it's like, we can either do a little now, or the state's gonna come in next year or the year after and do a lot, so.
Well, but that's where the frustrating part with, it's not even just specifically like the legislature as a whole, it's the top tier. It's like the leadership and the governor and all them, cause they're talking about reform to property taxes, when the easiest reform is to start alleviating some of these minimums.
Yeah.
If the valuations are outpacing everything, if everything's going nuts, you should be able to live off 85% rather than 90 like you used to.
Yeah.
They didn't reform any of that.
No.
So they wanna act like they're heroes and they capped us on our budgets, which we'll find out if that's good or bad, but you didn't even reform it on the backside at all. So, cause we proved during COVID, well, none of you guys were here, I guess, but with COVID, before PPP and all that other stuff, we were terrified, we didn't know what was gonna happen. So us as a board, and everybody, even the employees agreed, like, we're not gonna do raises, we're not gonna do everything. I think we cut $500,000, like we were negative $500,000, like we went down.
Yeah.
The valuations outpaced the mill cuts, and some people still had tax increases. So they would still come up and they're like, I thought you said you were gonna cut taxes, I'm like, well, we cut the mill, like, we didn't even understand how much of the mills we had to cut to outpace some of these valuations, cause the valuations don't even correlate to the mills other than at the end. You know, but Christina's house goes up way different from Josh's, and we cut $500,000, Josh didn't see an increase and she still did, because her increase was bigger than, and so that's why, like, you can't even totally blame the counties and the cities on that, like, you literally need to be an expert on the tax code to figure out how to actually cut taxes so everybody gets a tax cut. But yet at the state level, they didn't even touch that part of the reform, so that's my soapbox, it pisses me off. It's annoying, cause they wanna blame all the local subdivisions, and they haven't actually reformed their own code in any way, shape, or form, and they
And the
still
elected-
mandate
The
90%,
local
yeah.
elected officials are the ones that get beat up because of it, and it's nothing that we wanna do.
Right.
Yeah.
Rich
I mean,
Gardner was the worst one of that when he was the Senate Majority Leader. He used to always blame the subdivisions. Every time he got on the radio, he blamed the subdivisions. I'm like, you're the Senate Majority Leader for how long? And you didn't touch these reforms, yet you wanna blame the counties and the cities for everything. That's not right.
I would say most elected officials are happy to see houses selling in their area for way more than they're evaluated at. I'm happy as a lark that
But
that's
it's
happening.
actually terrifying, cause now you're like, oh crap, now they're selling too good.
Yeah, exactly.
We're having too much success, cause
Yeah.
now you have to raise their taxes. It's not right.
Yeah, because you could sell yours at that and buy it this lower rate, yeah, it'd be great, but that doesn't happen.
Right.
Some of these homes that have been sold in previous,
Well, and some of the housing increase is just due to the fact that it's expensive to build a new one. So
Right,
that-
yeah, right.
all the, I mean, everything that's used,
Replacement.
pretty much, yeah, everything's gone in big value, because even what used to be half cost of new is
Yeah.
still expensive now, so.
And there's no
Plumbers are charging so
inventory,
much
it's
now.
the huge
it's
reason
Right.
why cost
I
increases.
don't know.
But I mean, it really, you could even argue that Lytton and Strasburg and some of these towns with the advent of work from home and everything has actually created a value increase, because
Yeah.
it's not such a big deal to live in Lytton now, cause you can still have your Minneapolis job. I know people in town that have that, and it's great, all that is probably a net good, but then, like you said, they moved here because the property taxes were cheap, and yeah, they paid $150,000 for that house everybody thinks is only worth 90, but that was a $300,000 house where they came from, so they still think they got a deal, so, I mean, what's wrong with all that? Not a big deal, they sold the same house wherever they were from for 3 times that, told all their relatives they bought this house for way cheaper, and then everybody in town's like, oh my god, they paid $40,000 more than I would've paid, well, try and rebuild it,
Yeah,
you know, try and rebuild it.
no, that work from home has helped Linton and probably Strasburg and Hazel.
The whole area.
Well, I would say just the rural areas in general, cause there's people that are, you know, that maybe would have been considering moving to another town or came back home because they could be told they could live anywhere, so. They wanted to live here for every reason but their job, well, if they can come back with their job, well, then you're gonna see an increase in housing rates and stuff too, so I mean, yeah.
That's the way the world is, what do we do?
Complain about it, that's what I'm doing right
That's
now,
what we do.
complain.
Yeah, and we should change, but it doesn't.
Well, again, like I said, those are where you hit the rock and a hard place, cause if we sit here and play chicken with the state, cause we disagree, that obviously happened, we're starting to figure out why they did that 15 years ago,
They're gonna
because
come
they
back
had
and
the
bite.
same conversation we had, they were mad, they made the state do it, and then the state did it. You know, they were hoping they didn't do it, and they did, so. Anybody wanna do that again?
No.
Wanna see, maybe different? Okay.
Play chicken again.
I'll give you something else
You don't
to
know,
complain
you don't
about.
know, you don't know, you don't ask.
You're up to bat,
I
Chris.
got something else for you to chew on here. Okay, with this new legislation, it's requiring the assessment office to send out not only this notice of increases now every year, I have to send out a notice to every parcel on their last year value and this year value. So, that means instead of having 200 letters to send out next year, I'm gonna have over 10,500 letters to send out next year.
That'll cut into our 3% in our cap,
Yeah, that's
Yeah, how much extra
a huge problem.
postage and everything else, is that gonna be?
So, I was thinking about, ways to alleviate this $7,000 bill that we're gonna have in the office, and I thought, well, we charge the cities and township $1 a parcel to assess their parcels. Which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, and it wouldn't cover all of the costs, but we should probably think about charging them more. So what I did is that on your separate sheet there, I got a little, survey from counties in North Dakota on what they charge for assessing their parcels, and this is what came back to me. You can see we're at the bottom dollar value compared to other counties. Some counties charge for, mileage, and some counties charge different costs for ag parcel versus a residential parcel. So I just thought I'd throw this out there and see what you guys all thought about increasing the charge.
You say right now we're at $1?
We're $1 a parcel, yeah.
Do you happen to know how many parcels are in the county?
Let's see, yeah, there it is, a little over 10,500, but not all of those we bill because about 8,500 of them are county parcels. So it leaves us about 2,000 parcels that I would charge, yeah, 1,834 this year.
So if you went up $1 a parcel, you'd bring in about 1,800 more bucks, so.
Yeah, to help cover that postage.
Sure.
That's sensible.
I think it's reasonable.
Yeah. I think it-
I mean, it seems like everybody's in that anywhere from $1.80,
Yeah.
$1.75, some of them are $4 and $5, I mean,
So $2 wouldn't be out of line.
I don't,
No, it would not be
Not at
online at all, no.
Do you get bulk rates, postage on that or not?
We do have a little bit of a rate, but it's
Not a
nothing
lot
to
of
brag
savings.
about.
That's a lot of work,
It is a lot of work.
a lot of
It's a lot
envelopes
of
to put in.
envelope stuff, yeah. So I'm also researching a way to maybe do a postcard, I don't know if it would
Isn't
be
That'd be a
legal.
lot easier.
I don't know if
Another
it would be
state
legal to
mandate that
do
increase
it,
costs.
Yeah, that's all it is.
but
Right.
anyway, that's
It's
kind of thing I'm
crazy, right?
researching, and I don't know if the
What
software
a
can
game.
output it as a
What a
postcard
game.
size either, so.
Chris, what's your, I mean, do you have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation of at least go to $2, at
Okay.
least.
At
At
least.
least.
At least, and then probably, charge, a travel charge to go to the meetings, you know, which is, what, 70 cents a mile or something? Just have that little travel fee on there. If we really wanna cover the cost, we would have to go more than an extra $1. We would have to go probably up to $3.50 a parcel.
Postage is going up in the 13th.
And postage is going up too.
5 cents a stamp.
Yeah, so
Oh,
probably
yeah.
$4 a parcel.
Yep.
That just
there's-
keeps going.
there's-
Well, and that's, you know, with the city too, we were, you kinda gotta keep ahead of this inflation. I mean, everybody wants to hold the line on taxes and increases, but you know, we had to start increasing some utilities a little bit here and there to cover, you know, some stuff, and it's just how it's how it is, it's sad. But you get too far behind, and then you've gotta either make a huge increase, and then you wanna talk about upset people. So you try to do a little bit every year. I don't know, I mean, we've had to rip the Band-Aid off in the city a few times, and it hasn't, it's been received well, I think. I mean, I haven't gotten screamed at or even anybody that's been real upset about it, but it's just, that's just the way things are going.
Everybody's.
Everybody's,
Co-ops, they're all jacking their rates also. All of them, they have to.
I mean, I think $2 really gets us a quarter of the way there, or a third of the way there maybe.
Yeah, and we've been at $1 from what I could gather, at least the last 7 years, we've been at $1. I don't know what it was before that.
The sad part about it is how many people are actually gonna read this. You know what I'm saying? State's telling you gotta do this again.
Yeah.
So rather than adding it to the budget, I figured pushing it off onto, a little bit of it off onto the cities and the township might help a little. But the brunt of it is the county parcels, like I said, about 8,500 parcels are county, so.
They give
That's
a
on
reason
us.
for what was, I mean, what was the reason for the change on this? Like
It was
some,
part of House Bill 1176,
1176.
right?
It's 1176, yes ma'am.
Oh,
I don't know what the reason was. You know, they did away with the estimate tax statements. So we don't have to send those tax statements out at the end of August anymore.
Oh, we
And
don't.
she has to send those out. Then instead of my office doing the estimate tax statements, we have to send out a letter to everybody too, letting them know when everybody's having their budgets, the cities and.
More infinite wisdom from our legislatures.
Yeah,
So are we saving money by not having to do the estimate tax statements? Not really, because now we have to send out notice to everybody too. So she's sending out a notice to everybody and I'm sending a notice.
More costs.
Yep,
You know, it's like,
take away from our budget and then cap it, right?
Yeah. And then cap
and
It
how
would
many
make
people
sense.
actually
State rule.
read these
Yeah,
things?
it would
That's
make
just-
sense to combine those two somehow, but you can't with the time frame that we're offered.
If they would've just let us put it on the website or something,
But you can't.
because people do that
You
more.
have to, yeah, they're requiring, unless somebody requests or authorizes that you can
Send it
email.
by email, whatever.
Yeah, only if they authorize it.
So you have to send a notice to each parcel, it doesn't matter if one person owns 10 parcels, they get 10, is that correct?
Correct.
yeah, that was, I know, yeah, you get a whole
Huh?
pile of them, yeah. Repetitious,
Yeah.
but how do you, there's no way to,
Yeah, there's no way around it, we're stuck with it, at least for the
but a
next 2
postcard
years.
would be easier.
It would, I'm still looking into that to see if the software can handle producing a postcard and if it would be legal with,
Yeah, I don't
be-
know.
things being
Maybe it
confidential.
Being there's that information on there, can you
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's probably not
One
confidential.
thing I'm worried about is confidentiality.
Well, they got
I mean,
those little-
most everything is public already on the website, so whatever we put on the postcard, if it's required, if it meets the requirement and it's all public information, then a postcard should be fine, is the way my thought process is, but will the software put out a postcard? I don't know, I have to talk to the software company about that, if they're developing it or not.
Would it help to make put notice in the paper that people could, to respond back via that, you can get this by email if you respond back and save us and cut costs?
I don't know that it would.
Probably wouldn't work,
I-
yeah.
So many people prefer mail, whenever they come in and talk to me, they don't even wanna give me an email, or they tell me they don't have a computer, or, so.
Well, I'm sure the biggest reason is too, is there's a lot of out of state,
Yeah.
parcel holders and stuff like that too, so I mean, that's where that, even the newspaper doesn't reach probably enough
Yeah.
people with that, just cause, I mean, we all know somebody that lives out of the state or out of the area that owns parcels, it's not uncommon, so.
Yeah.
Just seems odd that you'd make them send it to every parcel.
And I don't know if I haven't researched enough to find out if there's two owners at two different addresses, if I have to send to both of them. I mean, that could be additional cost there, so.
Can you put, say if they have 10 parcels, can you put that all in one envelope and send it?
You can, but you would be having a weight issue after
A weight
6
issue.
sheets, for sure.
What again?
So just wanna toss that out there and see what you guys thought about it.
When do we need a decision on this? When would you like a decision?
You've got a couple of months, I don't have to do anything until next year.
Can we bring this up at the 6th county meeting and see what these other 6 are doing?
I'm curious what
So
the
long as
Association
like
of
we-
Counties did about this, cause
Yeah,
the
there you go.
1176 by some groups up there was like the savior of property taxes, and
Yeah.
kinda seems like,
Yeah.
so I think that was Kelly Armstrong's bill, and then they kinda butchered it, but it's like, there's all this give and take with this stuff, like, this doesn't even make sense. I'd be curious to see what the discussion was and what was the reasoning for every individual parcel, it just doesn't, like me, my place is split into 2 parcels just because of the way, like, most of my property is housing, and then there's like 40 acres of pasture, so it's 2
Oh.
parcels, like, I have a 40-acre place with 2 parcels, so I'm gonna get 2 notices on my 40, like, that doesn't make any sense, like, that's just,
No.
I mean, and even like my lots in Hazelton are separate parcels, even though, cause we acquired the neighbor's property 20 years ago, I'm gonna get 6 pieces of mail on my
Yep.
3 properties in the county, like, it doesn't even make any sense. And I'm not even a big landowner now, just throw a few names out of the neighbors, that have multiple parcels, like, they're gonna get flooded with mail, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it seems like a waste.
That was some kind of oversight or some, I don't know,
Trying to support
There's a
what
meeting
we're
on
supposed
June
to.
16th that I'm gonna be attending to
Okay.
hear how other counties are dealing with this too.
there's gotta be a simplification path there somehow, there's gotta be a way, cause that
This don't even make sense.
doesn't make any sense at all, there's gotta be, I mean, the only other thing that would make sense would be, there's gotta be some kind of information hub on that, like with the state or something, like, there's gotta be a way, I mean, in this modern age, sending out that kind of mail just seems,
Asinine.
that
This is inside.
doesn't make any sense.
This is crazy.
So I guess basically that's all I had to bring up for any new business or whatever, unless you wanted to talk about the values anymore. I do have a complete parcel list, if anybody wants to view it, I can email it to you, it's over 1,000 pages, so I chose not to print out a copy of that.
Yeah, right.
Cause you will have to approve the values, so.
Is it online?
No, no, it is not, but I can email it to you, but this one sheet right here breaks down the bottom line for you of what the
Okay.
values are. And what the percentage was that they went
Yeah.
up. The top number is just the rural, parcels, for the county, that the county is in charge of, and then the bottom list of numbers is the entire county.
So if I'm reading this right, then your county rural total increase percentage wise is 3.7%,
Correct.
and then just the grand total of Emmons County, cities included, is 4.15.
Yeah,
And that's the accumulated, that's dwellings, that's farmland, that's everything, just like everything.
yeah, except it's not any of the exempt properties or anything like that, what they would be valued at.
Sure. You didn't happen to have last year's totals, do you? Just as like a comparison to last year?
No, I don't have them on.
Okay. Just curious, just something.
Guess that would have been a good thing to bring up.
I could've brought it too, I don't wanna say it's lost, I just am not quite sure where it's at.
Yeah.
I have an area where I have my county papers, but to say it's organized would be, that'd be a lie, it would be a lie. It could be organized someday.
Oh, no.
That's good to hear, because I just, man, this is the last month, you don't.
Well, I mean, like, I got a briefcase here I can hardly carry anymore from the last 6 months worth of papers, I mean, a guy accumulates a lot of stuff, you know, it's just. Cause the other thing too, just from the things that I've seen over the years too, is it's hard with that. A good example would have been 2 or 3 years ago. Josh, what year was that one with the major soils redo? Like 21,
21,
22?
21 was our first new year, I think.
That was kind of an interesting year though, as far as learning something, cause I think the county valuation as a whole went up 1%. But those soils, parcel for parcel, were like a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
There were people that see major decreases, other people see major increases, but those were like, they were like evening each other out, so from 30,000 feet, you're like, oh, the valuation went up 1%? That's not, there were some people that seen 10, 15, 20% increases on some parcels, and conversely, they were, cause I got calls from people who are like, oh, thanks for lowering my taxes, I'm like, didn't have anything to do with it, then other people called, they were mad at me, they went up, I'm like, didn't have anything to do with it, like, it was literally, what was really funny is I had 2 people in my family, one on each side of the, and they almost equaled each other out, so I was like, actually, you should call so-and-so, you should tell them, give you some of your money back, because they actually almost got a discount, and it was such a wild change, them soils was.
Oh, it was sporadic.
So that's why even when you look at this, like, grand total thing, it can be kinda confusing, cause it,
Pasture land that went up dramatically based on soil types.
yep.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where it's just kind of like something, just like food for thought, when you go through these numbers, it's hard to just digest an entire county's worth, because people on the west side of the county versus the east side versus the north, south, towns versus rural, it's all different, there's such a calculation change, and
I'm gonna ask a dumb question, but the price of this land, the way it's selling from $7,000 to $8,000 an acre, does it really create a big difference on
No,
taxation rate?
not for ag land.
Not for it.
Okay. See, a lot of people go crazy about that, they say they're driving my taxes up and out of the sky.
Based on the production, right?
Yep.
that's
based on
only for
soil.
ag land.
Right, right.
Yeah.
When you talk, like,
Oh.
the commercial and residential,
Right.
the reason why you
Different
see the massive increases in cattail and beaver especially, they were 40-acre parcels, then they got split down to 5-acre, and every time they sell them, they're selling them at a massive increase, you know, now it's getting to the point where people are probably virtually paying $100,000 an acre out there. That'd be because if you value the size of the lot versus the cost,
Yeah.
and then they improve it
Oh, yeah.
by building a home on it. I mean, now you have a 1-acre lot worth $750,000, depending on what's on it, or, I mean, that's where you're seeing the increases out in places like
Yeah.
that, cause that's a totally different deal.
Oh,
And that's why the
like
sales,
you say, you split it into
Well, right,
acres,
yeah.
it's just, whoa.
and that's why even like getting back to the city lit discussion, you're kind of a victim of your own success if you
Yeah.
start selling higher dollar
Yeah.
properties. Beaver Bay is a perfect example in cattail, they're a victim of their own success in that scenario, because
Yeah.
their taxes are increasing no matter what's changing with the governance or anything,
Yeah.
just because of the environment that they're creating, which,
Yeah, and they're creating.
it's great, right,
Yeah.
until it comes down to paying the taxes and on the valuations, because that's all part of the system.
And then they feel, well, we're paying these kind of taxes, we should have pavement all the way in the curb and gutter.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you start looking at what they're paying,
Smack
yeah,
that driveway
but
coming
it's,
out,
But I think people understand that their values are probably lower than what they would sell it for the most part, because I had virtually no pushback at any of the city meetings or the township meeting on their new values when I had
None.
sent out notice of increases. And today it looks like we're having no pushback either, so.
Well, I
And
think-
that's the way you have to hope people look at it, you know? I wouldn't sell my house even close to what my valuation is.
No,
I mean, not in today's market. I mean, maybe it would be a different story 15, 20 years ago, but
And that's the first thing I ask people when they do come in to complain about it, I'm like, okay, well, what do you think it's worth? What would you sell it at? And the next words out of their mouth generally are, well, I don't know.
well,
They don't.
You know.
I think in the grand scheme of things, most people are excited to see increases to their assets, but yeah, when you have to pay taxes on it, then it's difficult. I can tell you one thing, I've looked at the valuation of my house, what I insure it for versus what its value isn't even in the same,
Not close.
like, so that just, and insurance companies don't let you over-insure things that hard, so that just tells you even what they view the value of my home to replace versus what I'm getting assessed on it as, is.
And they won't let you underinsure either.
Well, no, but, exactly, but I'm just saying, I would probably have a hard time doing a massive remodel in my house for what it's valued at, honestly, just because the price of things versus even these tax assessments seem expensive, and maybe in other cities, they might be a little out of line, but as far as the county goes, you'd probably be hard pressed to find a lot of places that are over-assessed in Emmons County. It's
No.
just because things are valued, the value of things is just, things are expensive,
Yeah.
and so.
And now with the state credit, they bumped that up to $1,600 for next year, so a lot of people are gonna have a zero tax liability,
Right.
so that may,
Yeah, I guess we can forgive them for making us send out 10,000 more pieces of mail.
but they're not gonna fund it.
Yet,
genius.
there's always another legislative
always a
session coming, yeah.
All right, Chris, so you need a motion
A
to
motion
approve?
to approve
Approve
the
what you
values.
said. Okay. Is there a motion
Well,
by
the
anyone?
only thing I would suggest is that, is anybody here?
Is anybody here
Just
contesting what she's presented to us? No one?
for evaluation changes?
If not, I ask for a motion of what she just presented to us.
I move we approve the equalization and valuation assessments for Emmons County.
Mr. Mayor made a motion, seconded
I'll second.
by Mr. Gardner. All in favor of it?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll try to get back to you.
Yeah, think about it and,
Yeah. If we forget, remind us.
okay.
Okay,
I will,
please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got a few months, so.
okay.
Maybe we should do like a convention and we should just take everybody's stuff to like Dairy Days and Community Days and they can come to the table and grab and save some posters.
Yeah, how about we do that?
County commissioners can do it, that way we're not getting paid any extra wages, you just take your district and you sit at a table for a day and hand out assessments. Maybe get punched in
That
the
would go
face.
over real good, right? Good phone call.
Hey, if you wanna punch someone in the face, that's the guy to punch, right?
Since we're not getting paid, we can drink, right, while we're doing that?
Only
If
if
I'm
it's
gonna
on
get punched
Saturday.
in the face, I wanna be loose, so I just go down and don't hurt
It's gotta be on a
myself.
Saturday after 10 AM, otherwise you're drunk, you know, you gotta do that.
Have it done.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Christina.
Craig's got a good point, you wanna drink
Don't
all day, you gotta start early in the morning.
Oh, there
You get 3 baseballs if you can dunk the commissioner, then you get your stuff at the table. That'd be a line all the way around the block.
We'd be going down.
Yep.
Chairman first, right?
Yeah, Chairman first. Sit and take it, Materi, boom, yeah. Yeah. Who's Teresa Pham? She's not here, is she? From Vision Zero. Pardon?
Can the other commissioners attempt to dunk the chairman too? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Shit.
Make her get out of line.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that, I don't know, is that a call in or?
No, she's
Oh.
supposed to be coming.
I was gonna say, last time they came, so.
What do you wanna do? Do you wanna approve some of the miscellaneous guys and wait for
Well,
them?
That or just bump it and go to the next one, if she comes in, you can move on to it or something.
Danny Mock's not, everybody else is here.
yeah, we can talk about the zoning ordinance
Look.
stuff.
You wanna go on the zoning ordinance updates on Article 6, pages 15 through 18? Conditional use requirements.
Yep.
Last week or last month, we were talking about industrial ag zoning. There's a video conference Thursday at 12:30, did anybody else sign up for that or not?
I have not, I know you sent it, Marla sent it to me, thanks.
Yeah,
We should.
Did you get it also?
I got the,
Okay.
yeah, I got the email, but.
I had an email on it.
I guess I'd like to watch that before we do any updates on the industrial to ag land, or ag land to industrial use.
Because of the wind power and battery
Right.
project.
I guess I reviewed Dunn counties, I know Marcy had brought up that Dunn County's got a pretty it's in depth, I mean, it's, you know, probably pretty well thought out.
Okay.
I, from what I read, you know, just kinda reading through it, it seems like something that wouldn't be a bad model. Like to just, I mean, obviously not take it word for word, but, you know, rather than maybe even just trying to, it might almost be easier to modify theirs than to try and modify ours, cause if you compare ours to Dunn counties, we are,
Way behind.
it's not even close.
Can we get a copy of that for the next?
Yeah, can we?
It's
Yeah.
on their website.
It's on their website, I found it pretty easy, you can just go right on there and there's 85 pages there, you might don't have to pull all 85 pages, cause that's their entire zoning code. But, you know, there's 10 or 12 pages just on the energy stuff, which
Okay.
Dunn County's kind of been one of the tips of the spears out there as far as, they've seen a lot of stuff. And so,
And we're talking their ag district or their industrial district? or
that
both?
it was mostly, well, I mean, for the most part, it was conditional uses and mostly pertained to energy was a big
Okay.
part of it, you know, but I mean, their 80-some pages was their book, I mean, that was their,
Oh,
that
So that's
described.
what we should feed on.
Well, the one thing I liked about it is it actually, you know, it described the responsibilities of the county commissioners as opposed to the you know, how the you know, how they partook in the zoning. Cause they obviously they're pretty sophisticated in the energy stuff, they do have a plan, they got an administrator and, you know, somebody that literally works on this stuff every day, but it was, land development code was and I think there was 89 pages. But it's, you know, I'm not saying it's perfect, I just, from what I read everywhere, I was like, wow, that's very in-depth, we might almost have better luck. You know,
Modify that.
and I'm not saying their entire 89 pages, but maybe their industrial use type stuff here, this 5, 10, 15 page segment, we might almost have better luck. I would suggest the plan would be that, unless anybody else has another county to bring up, I would recommend reading Dunn counties and maybe just seeing if
Modifying theirs?
it might be easier to modify theirs than to try and make ours look like someone else's. You're maybe almost better off to take someone else's and just make it our own.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I felt like there was a lot of stuff in there that pertained, I mean, there's some stuff that, you know, is totally up for debate, or, you know, maybe don't even quite pertain to us maybe, or
As
you
of
could,
now.
you could strike it
Yeah,
out,
right,
but
yeah.
I actually felt like reading that, it seemed like it was maybe even a lot closer to ours than maybe like what Burley counties would be, just cause Burley's, we probably need to duplicate more of a real rural setting.
Yes.
Burley's got a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
Bismarck
Bismarck,
related, to, you know, just because they're just, that's their issue, you know? So, I felt like Marcy's recommendation to Dunn County was,
And how did you come across it?
When we wanted to adopt our permit system like we have now with utility permits and everything else, I had asked Dunn County to come to one of the 6 county meetings
Okay.
and go through everything. And then Emmons County adopted it afterwards, I took their permits and
Okay.
moved it to Emmons County and commissioners adopted it then.
Okay.
but it's even like the load pass permit, they're a big part of that too.
They're a
with
big
the-
part of
you know,
that too,
they're-
and see what happened with Dunn. I knew their county auditor, retired as auditor and ran for commissioner, so I knew him pretty well.
Okay.
And I reached out to him and he said that they weren't ready for this oil. So they got caught off guard, and so they got
Oh.
busy real fast and came up with these permits and everything, and
That's the thing, you can get blindsided on this.
No,
stuff.
Dunn County's north of
North.
this, right, cause Dickinson is Stark
Right,
County.
yeah, that's
Right.
right.
So Dunn is kinda like the rural area
Yep.
north of there,
Yep,
but I don't,
okay,
my
yeah.
North Dakota geography's a little rugged, but.
Yeah, not real good at it.
I just came from Minnesota for the weekend, I'm actually better at their counties than ours.
Is Kilmer,
Maybe
Kilmer's
we
down
should
county,
get,
isn't it?
What's that?
Kilmer's
maybe
down
we should-
county.
That sounds
Oh,
right.
there you go, yeah.
Just north of Dickinson,
just,
right?
maybe we need to print this off and maybe go back to the beginning, how we started this, and compare the two with ours and theirs and what we
And update ours.
like, well, not necessarily even update ours, just anything that we need from ours, put into theirs and take out anything that we don't need from theirs. I
guess
like that idea.
After reading theirs, I guess the biggest thing it brought to me was just probably we're at where they were when they talk about being behind on the oil, like just, I think we're so far behind, I think trying to make this thing something is gonna be very difficult, and I just don't even know if we're qualified to do it, like, that's where I feel like looking at someone who's probably just been through the ringer,
Yeah.
probably
So you don't
probably
think we,
built what they have basically, cause they were in the boat we're in, that would be a very good county to just maybe start looking at and just seeing how far away they are from some of the stuff we're talking about.
so maybe we should just get print offs and we should take it home and do our own little research?
Yeah, but I mean, like with me, I can probably just print mine at home or whatever too, I'm just, you can go right on the website, I guess, and get it if you want, or I mean, if not, if you want Marcy to do one, it's fine, but I think after looking at it, my opinion was to come in here and maybe just talk to you guys a little more about, maybe we're not going about this the right way, like, I mean, I think we are, I think the intention's there, but I think we're maybe gonna try,
We don't know.
we're gonna end up
We don't know.
reinventing the wheel on some things that
Right.
later on, you're like, man, that would've maybe just been a lot easier to have. I mean, someone else put a lot of work and effort into that, now it's probably a lot closer already now in its form than what we're gonna get this thing to be the way we want it, so.
We'll,
I'm not gonna say we should just take it and run with it,
Do you?
maybe we all read it, and we don't even agree with it, but I
I'm one of
actually,
the commissioners, he used to be the county.
Okay,
auditor.
right, but do you know this Miss Rowley?
No, that one.
but I'm actually thinking, my suggestion was maybe we just put a pin in the way we're doing it, let's assess Dunn counties and see if maybe we wanna reroute and go, man, we could just modify this thing the way we want. It'd probably be a lot easier to categorize, organize than like this thing, we're gonna be creating spots and.
So should we throw that on the agenda for next month? that
Well, I
everybody
think it should
pulls
just
this
be a
off,
part of the.
reads it through and we kinda
Yeah.
revisit it next month after everybody's taken a good look at it?
Yeah.
If I had one suggestion, I would say that this is something that probably doesn't need to get rushed, it's been
Right.
existing.
It's been sitting.
Well, it's been in existence for 50 years, we're not gonna clean it up in 6 months.
No.
And so that's where I think taking a pause and maybe assessing another counties would be a wise move to. Either we're all gonna agree, like, man, this is close, we're gonna go, you know what, this thing really doesn't fit what we're doing, and we go back to what we're doing. I don't think taking a month to reassess it that way, and
So,
I'm not saying you gotta go through and red pin everything in there you like, but
Right.
you just start reading through it, and you think it's.
put it on the
something you
agenda
use.
though for next month,
I
just to
think so.
take that everybody.
yeah,
I'll
Okay.
put this one out for everybody then.
No, we can,
So,
Is there anybody that-
should be able to.
Oh, whatever.
I'll
it'll just
let you.
take a little time, but.
Well, it'll just depend how much you wanna print off, some of that stuff, if you read through it, I mean, I was reading through some of them, I'm like, I wouldn't probably change much on here, I'm not gonna print one page.
Yeah.
I'm only, out of 80 some pages, I might print off 20, and I'm just gonna
Right.
go through and take a red pen to the things I would maybe either change or whatever, but. I just kinda hit me after looking through it, I'm like, man, we're trying to reinvent the wheel, and the wheels are kinda already built, maybe we
It's
can,
organized.
maybe we can make something like that work and at least get it, it ain't gonna be perfect, but in the
It's a
next
home
5
run.
years, we might be able to modify someone else's counties to really fit ours without
Yeah.
having to sit here and do 3 years worth of work maybe to do it, somebody else already did it.
Right on.
Well, and like I said, you got another
That's
county
sure
that
wants
has
to
an
do it.
administrator doing a lot more information into it, I would say it's probably okay, so.
Yep.
So my suggestion
Joe
would be
wants
to
more.
evaluate Dunn counties and
Maybe Joe.
come back.
He wants more than that. Can't you see him jumping up and down?
I can see the way you reacted, you know.
Well, when I said us evaluated, I kinda meant you.
Yeah, did you notice him just move a little further away from you when he said that?
Can't
Just
wait-
on arm's length.
Can't wait to get out of here.
Oh,
Dan, I got
yeah.
a text message, Dan Hawkins not gonna come today.
He's not showing up. Okay, cross him out. He's farming, spraying. Okay. Anything else you guys wanna talk about on this here? We're just gonna take a look at this here and go from there. And feedback come next month.
Yeah, I think we should just visit about it next
Just
month.
visit about next month.
Take a look at it.
I think that's a good direction.
Okay. Teresa Pham from Vision Zero, are we looking at you?
Yeah.
All right.
Alright. I only printed off 4 copies of this, so you're gonna have to share, I apologize, that my printer ran out of paper, and then the only paper I had was cardstock, so just bear with me. Okay, so I'm with Vision, oh,
Pull the mic, just pull the mic.
Just pull the mic,
Yeah,
before you
you,
sit up in that
yeah,
chair.
there you go.
okay. Is this
Thank you.
recorded?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the camera right there, it's recording.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
What the hell's going on?
Well, I think each
Oh, we'll,
What did you get?
you can check
It's-
YouTube, you
yeah,
can
it's
check
3
YouTube
pages, I
after this.
There's 3
apologize.
pages in one copy, so,
3 to 1?
yeah.
Yep,
3 to 1, you got 3?
Yep, I got
Jim?
one copy, Jim's got a copy.
yeah, and once I'm done with
We
mine,
can probably share
If
it.
I can look
Yep.
there,
Here.
anyway, I apologize again.
Yeah, we're good.
You want one, Marlis? Give one to Marlis.
So my name,
Go right to the clerk.
Excuse us, please.
oh yeah, that's it.
yeah. Oh, yeah, Josh.
Thank you. Okay, well, while he's going to do that, I can talk about why I'm here. So my name's Teresa Tome, I'm with Vision Zero,
You're gonna have to pull that up closer, please.
with Vision Zero. And, for those of you who don't know, Vision Zero is North Dakota's goal to get down to 0 traffic fatalities. So about every year we have 89 fatalities throughout the whole state. And in Emmons County, we had 1 fatality in the past 5 years. But what I've given you is the serious injury crash report. So we don't have to talk about that yet since we're waiting for copies. But what we've been doing with Vision Zero especially is working in schools. Because it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And so our hope is that if we are able to reach the students, that we can start good behaviors sooner. So we have a program called Vision Zero Schools where we work with schools, we reach out to their student council, and we ask the students if they'd like to take part in this Vision Zero program we offer. And it's a peer-to-peer program, it's not a program where I'm telling the students to drive safe or an officer telling the students to drive safe or even teachers. It's the students themselves. And we've been very successful with this program. We have so far throughout the state 15 Vision Zero schools, and we're hoping to add more in the future. And so we work with the students, we ask them what they want their emphasis to be, whether that's seatbelt use, impaired driving, speeding, distracted driving, any of those, students get to choose what their focus is going to be. And so those students, they choose their focus, and then we have our people come in and shoot video of the students with their traffic safety message. So for example, I've worked with Flasher Public Schools, and so they have their 5 or 6 students with their traffic safety message, speaking to the camera and saying, we want our bulldogs to get home safe, so we want to encourage you to buckle up, and put your phone down. And that's put on social media, and then, not only the school sees that, but surrounding schools also see that. So it's a great way to get messaging out to the schools. Yeah, that's one of the main that's one of the things that we really want to try and get into every county. It is a lot of work, and of course, we also need the school to be on board, we need administration to be on board. Sometimes we ran into issues with either students aren't interested or faculty isn't interested. So then, of course, they're not gonna be a Vision Zero school. But if that's something that Littleton Public Schools would be interested in, I would love to work with them too. So if you have a contact that I can get in touch with, I'd love to work with them. Oh, perfect, that's perfect timing, I was just gonna move on to this. Okay, so I have the fatal crash report. This is the only fatal crash in the past 5 years. None of you have this report, I'll just pass it around once I'm done. But this fatal crash was, I don't even have the date for when this happened, but this fatal crash was a driver who was 56 years old. It was a rollover fatal crash, and there was no other collision, it was just a rollover. And I do not know where this is in Emmons County, but it's listed by 9th Avenue Southeast. So,
All that one killed him.
This is the fatal crash report.
There was one east of Strasburg, nobody got killed. And that young, what's her name, the young deputy,
Oh,
was
yeah,
on the scene and did CPR on, I don't know, was it some guy?
yeah.
And saved him supposedly.
do you know how long ago that was?
Wasn't it last
She's
winter?
only been, she's been right here a year, so.
That wasn't fatal. I mean,
Yeah, that wasn't.
She didn't, they didn't die.
Oh, okay, then that would be our serious injury crash report then.
This data limit says January 1st of 2019 to December 31st of 2023.
Might have been the gal that got
That's all
killed.
that's the data that we have.
Got killed by
Right.
Lincoln.
Okay, sorry, I said the past 5 years, I was mistaken, it's 2019 to 2020.
Missed that corner.
Thank you for correcting me.
You know.
Well, it's just what the.
Oh,
top
yeah,
says.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
she came across 83.
But that's quite a
That's
while.
that's been 10, 15 years.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so it was a while ago?
It's gotta be 15 years, wasn't it, when they were running to get parts, this gal and her brother? And they missed that turn on 83 coming off of Highway
They went off.
85 or,
Well, this one says, what did it say, 56th Street?
Well, it's 56 years old was his age. but
Oh,
that
Ninth
image-
Avenue Southeast.
Cause 9th Avenue, I mean,
That's
that's the
south.
road going by my house, so that would be
That's
pretty close
southeast.
to each one of the towns, so.
Yeah, and I don't think we have the dates of the crashes on this report, but I could try and find it when I get back to the office.
Somebody up by his.
so wasn't it by Westfield there?
So,
Somebody
Oh,
flipped the
yeah.
vehicle on the Westfield Road off
Yep,
5.
yep, that
Right?
was 2
It was
years
killed,
ago.
probably 2.
Yep,
2 years ago?
yep, yep,
Okay,
yep.
yeah.
That was
Wasn't that
In
like-
Strasburg, right? I didn't know
Did
that.
it have a date?
Yep,
It didn't have a date.
No, I wasn't able to find a date on any of these crashes.
That one was,
2 years ago, maybe.
2 years ago.
all right, but that was 4th of July,
Is that what it was?
cause that was during the Strasburg 4th of July deal. Cause wasn't that would've been just south of your house?
It was
That'd been
south,
down by,
Yeah, oh,
by like Al
Between
Myers
me
or
and Al
something.
Meyer,
Yeah.
yep, right, yep, right.
That's kinda ringing a bell that someone
Yeah,
Someone
died
died.
in that.
yeah, yeah, that car was.
Well, if that's the case, that would've been, like,
It'll be 2 years.
around the 4th of July, but that would've been 2022 or
2023, I brought it up.
23, right?
2023.
Yeah,
56-year-old,
Yeah,
died,
it's the
single
one.
rollover,
And what was his name?
doesn't
9,000.
have a name.
That would've been like July 3rd, right, or July 5th, or it was right around, cause I wanna say it was the same time as the Strasburg 4th of July.
4th of July, yeah. I didn't know
Or
that.
the rodeo, somewhere around the end of June,
I had nobody know.
2 years ago, around the end of June, beginning of July.
Okay, yeah, that is the fatal crash report, so if you wanna
Okay.
look at more of the
Yeah,
details
it's
of
9th
that.
Avenue's out.
That's
That's why I mean,
56-year-old,
yeah.
that's the conditions of the road, all of that.
You don't think it's a straight shot, but it is.
Yeah, no, that is,
Okay, so the serious injury crash report, you had 13 serious injuries from 2019 to 2023, and most of them happened during the day, and most of them happened when it was dry conditions. There were 9 single vehicle rollovers, so there was no other vehicle involved, it was just the driver lost control. And that's 69% of the serious injuries were single vehicle rollovers. 5 of them were ejected of those 13, so that means that they weren't wearing their seatbelts. So we could improve our seatbelt use throughout all of North Dakota, it's not just Emmons County, every county has been struggling with seatbelt use, especially in our rural areas. The cities are a little bit better about seatbelt use, but not by very much.
Scotty Share was last year.
Yeah, and then obviously dry conditions for most of the crashes as well. A lot of people think that in the winter time is when we have our most fatalities. Over and over again, every single year, most of our fatalities are happening in the summer when there's a lot more travel. People aren't buckling up as much because they think the roads are safer with it not being so icy. And that just leads to more deaths, unfortunately, or more serious injuries. And then we had, of those 13, 7 were rollovers. And then 7 happened during the day. 10 were clear weather conditions, 2 were cloudy, 1 was rain. And then you can see the breakdown of the ages of the drivers. So it ranges around from 15 to 35. So a lot more young people are getting into serious injury crashes than the older ones.
Speed,
Yes, speed is
Cell
a
phone.
factor as well.
cell phone.
Sit out here at, you could park in the Napa parking lot and just watch Highway 83
Yeah.
and watch how many people drive through town and their
Oh,
heads
yeah.
are down.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
I mean,
Scary.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
did it once and it scared the crap out of me, going around the curb when I was looking at my phone. And I was fortunate, I caught it, but it had been a head on.
Really,
Oh, yeah, just
Oh,
this
yes.
damn phone, excuse
yeah,
me.
it's
You
addictive.
wandered off.
And after that, I threw it on the damn floor and just sat it, you know.
Good. And well, some people have those moments and then they still go back to
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at their phone, so at least you learned. But
Yeah.
yeah, when I give
Never.
presentations, I give presentations to teens and I talk about, how addictive they've made the phone, and I really try to encourage them to remember that if they're tempted to ever pick up their phone in the car, to just not do it, because they've designed the phones to be so addictive for teens especially. So yeah,
Not good.
no, it's not. Yeah, and their screen time is crazy too. I was giving a presentation last year and a girl told me her average screen time every single day was 16 hours. It was on her phone, 16 hours a day. Yes, I couldn't believe it. I was like, don't you sleep? And she's just like, I'm just messaging my friends. Like, it was all through text messages.
It's an addiction.
That's a
I
lot
couldn't
of
believe it.
hours.
Yeah, so.
You have to plug it in.
Yeah. Gotta recharge it throughout the day.
Yeah, if you have to recharge your phone.
Yeah, you would,
might
because
wanna-
it would not.
Yeah,
might
maybe
be
once
redoing
there's
it.
that, give it up.
Holy buckets.
But yeah, any, questions on this or comments or concerns that you have in Emmons County?
Anybody?
Well, going to the schools is an excellent idea, I think, you know.
Do you have a contact for me? Should I reach out to the principal? Who would be someone I could?
Well, I would probably go to the superintendent, I would say,
Superintendent,
yeah,
that's the schools.
we can,
Mike Sherrado at Lincoln School.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who's the superintendent in Strasburg? You know?
Josh is
Yeah.
funny.
Josh,
Your
my
wife?
wife?
Okay, she's a contact there. And the one in Hazelton is who?
Oh, shoot.
I know his name.
Let me write.
Write it on the back.
yeah,
Actually,
he just wrote a letter to the editor of the Emmons County Record.
Josh.
Chad Larson from Linton here's the
Principal,
principal,
yeah.
so he's pretty easy to contact.
okay. And what do you think the receptivity would be, like, do you think it'd be open to Vision Zero schools, or do you think there would be some pushback?
I'd say
I
open.
think they
I
would,
wouldn't,
yeah.
they would be open, I wouldn't.
I would
I sure would hope so.
Should be.
I mean, it's for the better of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
And who's the superintendent, do you know? Josh in Hazelton.
I forget the
I
new
think his
person.
name's John Barry, but I don't think he lives in Hazelton or nothing, I don't know.
Yeah,
I only
it's
met him
John
once or
Barry.
twice, yeah.
John.
John Barry?
But I know like Tad Larson's been the principal there for many years. He
Yeah,
lives in Linton.
He probably would
He'd
be
have
the
the
best
phone
contact.
number.
Right, I mean,
This
he'd be
individual in
probably the
Hazelton.
easiest contact,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
'cause-
You know, if you go on the website, I pulled it up right away, it's John Barry, his phone number's on there for
Okay.
Hazelton School.
Okay, sounds good.
No, you won't get pushback, I'm sure.
Okay.
No.
If you do, then there's not a They're not educated very well.
Well,
I don't know,
I know like, Linton, the administration is, they're pretty young.
Yeah.
The high school principal, Pat Irving's probably the oldest one, he's 55,
55, 60,
yeah.
if that.
Shrotto is younger than I am, he's in his 40s, and Aaron Huber's 40. Yeah, so they're young.
So I don't know, these
And
schools.
I think
they-
Strasburg's the same way, they're all pretty.
What would you do
Yeah,
with
my
the
wife is in her
schools?
twenties.
We would do our peer-to-peer Vision Zero program, so I'd reach out to the student council in the schools or whatever their leadership student group would be, and I would ask them if they'd be interested and go from there.
Like the Linton School, are they pushing back with these cell phones that the kids leave them in the hallways?
That's
In their
statewide.
lockers, are they doing it in the
That's
start?
statewide now.
Yeah.
They pass them.
They,
Yeah.
statewide, they have
Lock
to
up
do
the phone for the whole
it.
day.
Okay,
Yep.
I think that's.
Governor was pushing that anyway.
Yeah, that's right, Armstrong pushed that.
They'll just be on it more when they're driving now then.
Yeah, right. So maybe we'll help.
That wasn't a joke, I thought that it's.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's probably true, yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
You want these made this fatal?
Do you want these back?
No,
No?
these are yours,
Okay.
yeah. I'll take this with me, but, yeah. Anyone else wants to see this? I'll just leave this up here for people to look at. But thank you for having me, I appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in, appreciate it. Good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lawler, you wanna come up and give us a road department update? How you doing, Russ?
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, Russ.
We're in the middle of the tractor situation right now, he's out there installing. We're about halfway done, so by the end of today, that should be pretty well complete. They'll come back tomorrow
Oh,
and do a little of, the computer side of things and stuff like that, and then that should be up and running. We started hauling gravel yesterday out of the, Knoll pit down there. We're hauling down in the southeast part of the county right now with, 3-4 trucks, depending if we can keep everybody moving. So, other than that, just blading some roads and trying to get things back in shape.
And they were a mess with it.
They were, yeah.
I'd like to thank the county workers for getting out there and working over the
Yeah.
weekend and the holiday too.
yeah, they went above and beyond.
I will pass that on, there was a lot of them that did that, and they got things moving again pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, that's about all I got for an update, I guess.
Since you brought it up, I just was gonna ask, what's your plan for like tracking gravel inventory like through the year? Like, are you gonna do like load sheets or something?
Yes, we're tracking that as we speak, every load is tracked. We have, John made up some spreadsheets, so we know where it goes approximately, how much, stuff like that, so.
Just cause it'd be nice, cause even if we do survey them in the fall versus what we had from last fall, if you have like a load sheet versus the, cause with their survey, if they tell us we took 20,000 off, you just have to take them at their word, so
Right,
it would be nice
exactly.
if you at least had some load sheets and you knew it was close, it's like kind of a double check on their survey, make sure that we're keeping inventories tight.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing, each driver has a sheet in there for every load, the time, the date, where it's going.
And where it's being dumped.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
so we are tracking that, yes.
Okay,
That's good in case there's ever a FEMA disaster.
that's another.
Yeah, because you wanna do it.
Yep.
Yeah. I got one other thing, guys. Russ Lawler's 6-month introductory period is complete. And we have the choice either to extend his probation or classify Russ as a regular full-time employee. And I don't know if there's any discussion, pushback or anything with you guys as to the status with Russ.
I thought we waived that when we hired him.
We did, but it just kind of the way it was amended from what I was told, the way it was amended by Tanya in
Okay,
our, what do you call it, employee handbook, that we just have to, and it was waived there, it was.
that's right, yeah, I thought that was kind of part of the discussion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's nothing, I think all we have to do is ask for a motion to accept Russ as a full-time employee.
Now you're gonna work.
You gotta go to work now.
But yeah, that's, the way it is now, but yeah. Is there a motion to accept Russ as a full-time employee?
Well, I'll make a motion.
No? Okay.
No.
Jim, make a motion. Is there a second to it? Miller second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Welcome on board, Russ.
Thank you.
Russ, did you ever look into, some of these, gravel?
I have a few
Yes.
lists, but no, I have not made it that far.
Cause I do have was the outfit out of Sioux Falls?
No,
Montana.
Oh, this is probably another outfit then, I don't know, I got a number here,
okay,
so.
Did they
I
ever
think-
get back to you?
on the gravel?
No, on these discs.
Yes, just this morning actually,
Okay.
Oh,
for the wind tower deal, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, actually this morning I got an email from Mike, and he said the process for approval is very long on their side of it. He said everything looks good, but he said it's just a time situation is what he said. So he said as of now, he said it looks pretty promising.
Okay,
He didn't give any quantity or anything like that, but he just said it looks promising, so
okay.
that's the last I heard.
On the same note as those discs, we originally talked about, you had some stuff online that you were selling, and you wanted to know if that money in a roundabout way, it doesn't really come back to you, but you could spend it. And I know you said you sold some equipment,
Yeah,
and I don't know what you sold it for, but was the plan to buy some of those discs, or?
that was some of the intention, yeah. We
Okay.
ended up selling that rake. We had like a 6-wheel rake, 7-wheel rake, whatever.
oh, yeah.
We sold that to a local person, and we ended up selling a terrace scraper as well. So we sold those 2 items. Basically, between the 2 items, it's just a little shy of 1 disc is what we recouped back, so. We were just trying to wait for the wind tower thing, and we're actually out of season a little bit for pole and shoulders and stuff like that as well, so just kinda letting things play out there. Another thing, during this storm, we had, I believe it was 5 different areas where the culverts, they undermined from the inside, and the edges of the road were good, but the middle of the road was actually caving in. So we're running around trying to get those roads and stuff back opened up and replacing the culverts, because the only thing I can think is the culvert has a hole in it where it's
Yeah.
washing on the inside and swirling around, that would do something like that. But we did have a couple roads, luckily, people caught them in time and stuff, and nobody did fall into them or anything, so. I think it's just we got a lot of culverts they're old, I mean, 60s model, 70s model, they served their time and they're just starting to catch us now, I think, so.
It's amazing how much water there was for runoff. I've got lakes that were dry, that there's water in them.
Yeah,
And I was down by Dupree and Faith, they had like 11.5 inches of rain during the month of May. And they said it was no wash rains, but it got so saturated
yeah,
that the water was just setting and then lifted the residue, and it started moving. And the culverts were full of residue. So I'm sure we've got that here also, though.
We do, yeah, we got places that silted in and stuff like that, and it's amazing how fast it actually dried out. I mean,
Yes.
2 days after that rain,
Yeah.
the dust was flying again, and,
yeah, right,
We were
you're
both
exactly right,
yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty crazy, but
yeah.
definitely dry out there,
It was an enemy, but yet it was a friend. What we
Right,
got for
same.
rain.
Oh, we needed the rain,
yeah.
It was kind of a long period, and that made it a lot worse, yeah.
It was a long time to sit and watch it,
Yeah, sun never shone, and, oh, yeah.
How was it for service calls there?
But I do think,
I didn't go anywhere, you couldn't, I mean, even if you couldn't get somewhere in their yard, you get stuck in their yard, I actually got my shop cleaned, it was pretty awesome, I'm pumped about it. 20 years worth of shop cleaning in 3 days, when the sun don't shine, it was easy, so. On the topic of dust control, that was one thing
Oh, yeah,
that,
you were there.
before the monsoon,
Yeah,
I'd gotten a couple calls from people that were just, it kinda comes up every year.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, since now, I don't know if we've really recalled getting an opinion from you, like, you got any beliefs, ideas on dust control that you think are feasible for the county that?
And that's a good question, because there's actually 2 different things that came up in the last couple of days about that as well. I just had a call here at 9:30 about a guy lives close to the road, was wondering if the county was open to options, if we would do anything, whatever. I don't have an answer and I don't have any experience myself. I've never used the stuff, I've just heard about it. Other counties do use it in areas and stuff like that, and I guess I'm open to, I mean, some of these guys, it's pretty legit with their complaint. I mean, it's dusty, dirty and ugly living there. I mean, it is, you know, it's just a bad area.
I noticed
Go ahead, excuse me, Jim.
Dennis Holm,
Yep.
Dennis and Karen, they put, I think Dennis put like ground up asphalt, or he put a layer of that right by the yard. Boy, that really worked, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's options, I guess it's, you know, there's the base one option, which is probably the most common one.
I don't know how long that, what
Is it
worked.
spending? Like chloride, soybean, they use soy oil or whatever. Chloride.
The base one, I believe, one of them totes, which covers approximately a mile, they said, it'll do a mile. I believe the price of that is like 5,500, something like that for that mile. So that's just the chemical, then you gotta water, you gotta work it, you gotta add some gravel. I mean, the total cost,
I feel like a number that was brought to us once before was like $10,000 a mile, like that.
I would
If you
think,
accumulate the
Yeah, I
labor,
believe
maybe some additional gravel to make it work.
I'd be curious what Dickey, when I worked on the railroad over in Dickey County, there was a company that would put, I think, glycerin down on the road.
Oh, yeah, I went down.
Glycerin.
Yeah, and that actually was real good, but I am curious if the county had anything to do with it, or was each private? Cause they have a lot of farms that are right along a lot of their roads over that direction.
Well, didn't, what's his name up there, Woolbaum, did he try?
Ken Woolbaum tried something, but the concern was that he wasn't gonna have enough to actually, like, it's like anything, if you don't put the adequate amount on, you know, he tried it, but did he apply it properly, you know?
Yeah.
Ken just kinda did it out of his own pocket, was
Yeah,
doing his own
yeah.
thing. I don't think the results were that great, but I really don't know any of the details, like if it got done maybe the way it should, so to say it doesn't work would be probably unfair. You know, when I worked at Falkirk, when they moved north of 200, that was part of the permit, requirements, was that we had to do dust control. And I think that was mag chloride, and I think mag chloride worked, but it got really greasy, even when it wasn't that wet. Like even if it was just like a day, like yesterday, where it was like cloudy with a little drizzle, that road would get kinda funky, and then when that stuff stuck to like your work truck.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
so-
can't get it off.
That's why I try and tell people with it, it's like, you'll get rid of that dust, but you might make it worse on the days when you don't have dust, like, I think the reason why we've never really pulled the trigger is cause every time we get down to it, there's always some dark side that sounds worse than the dust, like, and then thinking about the cost, let's just say it's $10,000 a mile. You could probably do a lot of locations for a mile, but when you think about it, like, most of these people are really only asking for maybe 200-300 feet.
you know,
Yeah.
Like,
Because there's always a certain prevailing
Right.
wind that'll blow it into a yard.
I mean, like, just to use your place for example, if you went 150 feet on each side of your driveway, you'd probably sort out any dust issues.
All I need is just south,
Yeah.
nothing north.
Right,
Because
and
you're
so-
southeast wind.
And so really, when you think about it, if you spent roughly $10,000 though, you'd probably alleviate most of the dust issues in the county that keep coming up like this. I mean, obviously,
like
other people might continue to ask, but.
Dion Sanger had reached out, he's got a legit one when we start hauling gravel out of there and stuff. I mean, Dennis Hole, another legit one,
Frank Bush,
Frankie
Dave
Bush,
Scher.
yeah, there's
Mark,
like
well, there isn't a lot there by Mark, I don't, yeah, there's traffic.
Yeah.
like Aaron said, I think one tote would just about cover the majority of our trouble, but
Is chloride though toxic as far as rust on your vehicles or no?
See that?
That's
I mean,
all.
if I had an opinion, I feel like we probably asked Wold Engineering a little bit, but it's always like in passing when they come to a meeting. Some of these engineering companies have to have a pretty good idea of what's working, or like what Gardner said, I mean, if it's a county deal doing it, it's probably
I
done.
think it's a private entity they use over there that actually does it, but I don't know if the county cost shares, I'm not sure what.
Well,
they
and some
do.
companies are, one, either required to do it, or two, they just do it, cause it's, you know, cause, I mean, you can run a water truck like I know, like gravel hauling, theoretically, we should maybe run a water truck, but you can wreck a road with a water truck too, though. I mean, I've seen a lot of roads get overwatered, that they get pounded out, where,
This is a material that, I mean, you know, that the farmers get, like you said, a couple hundred feet in front of their
That's all they need.
frontage.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, like I said, I think it's a private company that does it, but I'm not sure if Dickey County
Could you check into it?
I can, and like Campbell County's got wind towers coming in,
Yep.
but one of the things that they have to do is they have their haul road, their main haul road, they make them put, I believe it's mag chloride down on their main road, so I could actually check with them, but I think that's pretty spendy too, I think it's a little, it's more expensive than,
Well, the trouble is the application too, right, cause you can't just use like a run-of-the-mill, like you're gonna have to have a water truck with
Yeah,
some
you gotta
nozzles.
mix water
Like,
with
I
it.
feel like every time we go down this road, it's always like, you either have to hire someone out, which probably is gonna boost up the cost, or you have to retrofit equipment that we maybe don't even have to apply it, which makes it tough. It'd be interesting to see if you could hire someone, because when you start penciling it out, like versus us purchasing
Versus,
equipment,
yeah.
if you're gonna do small spots, you'd be better off to maybe see if someone does commercially apply it, that we could just get them to come in. Maybe do like 2 or 3 spots as like a beta test, and if it
Yeah.
works, you're like, okay, let's do 2 or 3
Let's
more,
do
and then,
more.
you know, and try and maybe have a little bit of a dust control program, cause I think even for us, like the gravel hauling, we could probably benefit from.
right?
Yeah.
I'd be willing to let my place be an experiment, you know?
Alright, we need to start talking about cost share. But all jokes aside, a couple of the people that brought it up did bring up, I mean, they didn't throw a dollar amount, but they were like, man, we would even consider
Yeah.
like, let's just say you figure it out and you're like, man,
Yeah.
if you figure out on a per foot basis and you go, we'll do 200 feet, it's gonna cost,
I
you
know,
know,
we would pay for
You
it.
would too, yeah.
I mean, if it costs $3,500 to do a spot and you go, we want you to pay 10% or 20, whatever, I think people would
Step up.
consider it.
Right.
So I think when you're talking about cost, I don't think it's out of line to consider asking them to cost share a certain
Yeah.
percentage. I think most of them would do it if it works,
Oh, yeah.
so.
I could, like I said, I could reach out to a few people with that mag one or base one that have used it and kinda get an estimate of what they got per mile into it roughly.
Do they use it in court?
They do.
Do they?
Yeah, I think Burley, Morton, I think they all use it, the bigger counties have been using it with their,
You know, because they got a lot of loads that are pushed out.
you know. But I think the results are pretty good if you can get it down right and everything works out, it seems to be, they seem to be happy with it, I think, so.
I think it's something we probably need to at least consider, at least on a small basis for some really bad, like you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a few of them, when you go in the yard, you're like, wow, there's a difference between wishing they had it and probably needing it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the
if we go
spots where
to,
we create the dust, we, you know.
That really
Set
is
all
good
there
for us
sure
if
we
we're
should
the
be.
ones being the.
I think it's the ideal for rapport with the public.
especially if we were hauling like this before this rain and stuff like that, I mean,
Right.
it was so dry that,
Unreal,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Terrible, right?
Almost dangerous,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, by intersection.
Yeah,
Okay, I will check into that.
okay.
Do you have any plans for the Tenvick Road to improve that on the east side of the highway?
On the east, from the highway going in right past the cemetery and stuff like that.
Say 2 miles in, that gets so slimy and
It's
muddy.
terrible all the way to at least 10th Avenue, to be
Right.
honest with you, it's,
It's a slimy, snotty son of a gun.
what
right
it
there
is
from
it's
Kankakee.
that Clarence Wool gravel that was
Right.
mined by Blattner Energy.
Is that where it came from?
That was, so
Oh.
that gravel was getting used as a base for their roads to go into the wind towers.
Okay,
But
Oh,
they were coating theirs with rock on top, they were using it
Crushed
as a
rock.
base, yes.
okay, so
But
ideal.
they were using that gravel, so what happened when they did that project, which was pretty contentious really, but they flattened that road out. They took the crown out and they widened that road like
For their
20
benefit.
feet, right? And then they were maintaining it and watering it, and then when they started to build it back up, they started using that Clarence Wool gravel. Which, and the reason I say Clarence Wool gravel is cause that's the parcel it came from where they mined it.
On that north side of it.
On the north side of the
Okay,
road,
yeah,
right, on the east side of the old Clarence
Yep,
Wool farm,
yep,
there isn't even a
yep.
farm no more, but
Yep, yep,
they were using that gravel, and then, and this is when, Francis was the road superintendent at that time, and they were trying to bring it up, and I think Francis was being pretty tough on the way they were bringing it up, and trying to get it in shape, and the gravel really probably wasn't good enough, but it was really dry at that time, so it was deceiving
yeah,
you, so, you
that'll
know.
work.
And so what they did was kind of an agreement, was like, we're not gonna get this road the way you want it, so what they did is they left us like 20,000 yards of that gravel.
in that pit.
Right, and
Yeah.
it was right next to that road, and so that's what not only Blattner Energy used, but we used to try and bring the road back, like to put the crown back in it, narrow it up and bring it what it was. Well, we found out after the next wet stretch,
it was not a
It
good
was
thing.
terrible gravel.
See, that's why
It's
that
terrible.
spot, when you drive it, it's just terrible.
It's terrible, cause if you go on the other side of the highway,
Yeah,
Right.
night and day difference on
Yep.
it. So that, the
One
biggest
spot.
stretch was coming off the highway, they had widened that road about as wide as they could make it, I wanna say at one point it was, that road had to be 60 feet wide.
That makes it hard to
Right,
crown, man.
It
that
was,
was that wide.
they leveled it off, I mean, they basically flattened it and, you know, took it out. I mean, and
Okay.
so, cause even over like, if you get on the end where it meets 21st, that, I mean, they had them intersections around,
Yes.
cause they couldn't get the wind towers around
Yeah,
on them
yeah.
intersections. And so, and then they widened it so that they could have traffic passing, cause they obviously had multiple vehicles, so.
Right.
But that's,
That's what
on the
created
east side of the highway for at least 2 or 3 miles
Yeah.
is, it's borderline undrivable.
And you think, what is there? There's springs when you drive it, or what is this, you know?
No, it's,
If that isn't what it is.
that's,
No,
that's,
for gravel.
that's the gravel from the wind project,
They can't even get in their driveways or out to the highway.
no. And that's why when Al came to even tune it up, that wind row it's slop,
Yeah,
it's rocks and mud.
yep.
There was
So
too
what
much,
should the guy do, blade it off and?
I mean, you're
And
gonna
all
start
good
blending
gravel.
it with some lighter stuff, like maybe
Oh.
the Vandervorst stuff, that you-
Right, other than being a long haul, that would be the place to try that situation and see if we can get
Mix it
something.
up.
try and blend it with
Mixture of
some
that.
sand and rock with no clay.
They've been putting up with that for, well, since it's been
Since
put
the
in.
wind
Well,
farms,
wind farm got put in 19,
cause that used to be a good road.
Yeah, you can't even get through with an ATV when it's like that.
Oh, boy.
I guess I didn't know.
Yeah, weren't they in there with a payloader or something there with this last rain?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trying to get down.
trying to get down to
To the
something, so they had a base to come out of it.
no, it's, that stretch there to at least 10th Avenue, or probably almost even the Lyle Walls almost.
Right.
Yeah,
That all came from that gravel, that's what, so they were hauling it to their sites, but they were also using it to fix potholes, coat the road, and then, so.
that's what we got.
Okay, we will try to blend that in and see what happens here.
Yeah, that'd be a good plan, I think.
You know, that would be, get rid of some of that.
Yeah.
Russ, I gotta have you clear, something up for us.
Okay,
Your, intent is not to get rid of the crown on the road, as the rumor was out there.
no, that is not my intent. I am not, I should not, I gotta rephrase that. I felt that down in the southeast part of the county, some of the roads were just a little bit too steep, and there's a couple operators that can actually verify that. They were blading, anytime you get over that 5% and your road is probably 14 to 16 feet wide and you put that kind of a crown on it,
Yeah,
it's just too steep, it's not enough area to run that type of crown.
right.
I am totally aware that a road needs crown, I would like to clarify that again,
Yeah.
that I know a road needs crown and we have to have crown. That's
Yeah,
not the intent to cut the, I mean, to take some of the crown out in some areas that were like that, yes, that was what I was instructing to do. And
yeah.
I still am, because we have to make these roads drivable for
Yeah.
everyone, so.
Yeah. Well, you
The
could-
information that was out there is not correct, and I have no intention of cutting the crown out of the roads. I am fully aware we have roads with not enough crown in them, we have inverted roads, right?
Yeah,
We're working on that, but it does not happen overnight, we cannot rebuild these things overnight, so it's a lengthy process, and that is my intentions and my,
misconstrued.
yes, I know a road needs the crown, I totally understand that part of it, so.
Yeah.
However that got started, it was, someone got misinterpreted somewhere, I guess, is how
That's
that
exactly right.
took place, so.
The other thing, Russ, I think, you know, we just have to find the money in your budget, or we're gonna have to find it some other where to get enough of these discs to get that done, you know, and pull that gravel in and get rid of that brim, you know. And we should have probably made work of it this year already, we just talked about it, but we didn't do
You were
it.
hesitant to spend the money.
Yeah, I mean,
And, you know, I don't wanna deter anybody, cause yes, I want the discs, I mean, we need as many as we can get, if we can get 2, 3, 5 of them, that'd be great.
yeah,
The people that did use them, prior to this storm, they had bad results, they got ugly, and they had to shut roads down, they had the same troubles all over.
So the water is,
No,
But it's the same scenario, if we would've went around and pulled shoulders with straight edges, we would've had them results again like that too. It has to go through a rain cycle, sometimes 2 or 3 rain cycles before it actually sets
firms
back up.
up, firms up.
It sounds crazy, but that's how it works, you have to let Mother Nature do its cycle on that stuff.
it's kinda like hauling fresh gravel into a yard,
Exactly.
it can be a mess.
Yeah.
That's actually how the picks work as well, you're bringing that stuff back, you let it sift back through, and the end result usually turns out pretty good.
Yeah,
So it's a timely process, and
yeah, takes time.
Well, and I guess I'll just bring up kind of something that happened to me my first year as commissioner, or second year. When we hired David Crum, and, he was way more aggressive on pulling shoulders than anybody else on the crew at that time. And Nick was the road boss, and he came in one day and he's like, yeah, just so you know, we hired David, and he's gonna start pulling some shoulders up in his area, and we're like, okay, cool, that's no big deal. He pulled up like 70 miles of shoulder in like a couple, like, basically every road he was on, he pulled shoulders up. And we got a rain, I don't think we got 7 inches, but we got like 2.5 inches, and it was a disaster. It was
Terrible.
bad, and everybody in that area wanted to kill us. I mean, they just were so mad. And Nick and David, like, to their credit, they're like, you gotta give it a chance, like, it's gonna be fine. And by the end of the fall, when it came to harvest, those were some of the best roads we had around. It was, so, I say that not to give any persons or people credit for ideas, but just, I think whenever you try an idea, you gotta be willing to take some patience with
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah,
maybe everything that you did was a mistake, and maybe it was the worst idea ever, I don't know. Maybe we're gonna be talking in September about how, man, that was a really great idea, these roads and that roads turned out great. You can't make a decision and not be willing to at least see it through.
Yep.
And so, I'm not gonna judge really what happened there, a 7-inch rain
no,
over 5 days, 6 days, like, that is literally the worst case scenario for a road.
yeah.
That was the greatest rain for everything
Oh, yeah.
but the gravel roads,
Yeah,
That's right.
it was,
just
so,
Greatest thing
Yeah.
ever.
we can't just go, well, that was the dumbest thing ever, and everybody that was involved in it doesn't know what they're doing. If you're gonna make an omelet, you gotta crack a few eggs, and you gotta give it a try, and if maybe that moisture is exactly what you needed to create the bind you need to start following through with your process, I think we just have to trust it and see what happens. And you can judge what happened 2 weeks ago in September,
Right.
October, I think that's, if I was gonna create any kind of a preach with that,
Yeah.
it sure looked ugly, but I'd like to see what happens in a few weeks or months ahead to see if it really was something that needs to change.
I was always taught to, and always heard, even from my grandfather, you'll never make a mistake if you don't try. You'll never make a mistake.
No, if you don't try anything,
You'll never break a piece of equipment if you leave it in the shed.
no.
Never a breakdown.
I was also told that anything said before the word but doesn't mean anything. But, I'm gonna say one thing, I'm not gonna pick on you or wrangle with you, I'm not gonna judge you or anything, but I just, my own view, and from the talk of my neighbors, not letters to the editor or Facebook posts, but the one thing I think that killed my road specifically, since I have a lot of hills, we really, I think, need to consider like eliminating the windrow. In my opinion, from what I've seen, the 2 biggest issues that I had on my road was, one, along the windrow was where the biggest wear spot was. And then 2 was at the bottom of the hills, because that water couldn't get off the road where it needed to, and then it puddled, and then we had the pound outs and the mud hole, cause if we're gonna crown the roads, I feel like it's almost pointless to have a dam at the bottom of the crown.
Right.
So that's where now, when you're pulling shoulders and you're laying gravel and you're trying to do things, you probably need a material windrow. I'm not saying it can never happen. I just feel like that rain exposed the fact that having a windrow like when you're driving through mud in four-wheel drive and you're looking over at 6 inches of gravel, it's the most infuriating thing in the world. Like, that's where I'm gonna kind of preach against the windrows.
There's been a lot of pushback about the windrow itself, and again, it was my, call to have the guys do that. I instructed the blade operators to do that.
Yeah.
The deal with the thing is, I came in here originally and I kinda said that I was gonna aggressively go after these roads, right? So that meant doing what we did there is what, you know, the windrows will slowly disappear throughout the summer here, and I think they're already starting to go away.
They are.
I know there was a lot of people saying the gravel's on the side of the road, and I seen a lot of it as well. We did, believe it or not, we did retrieve a lot of gravel out of them roads by doing what we did.
Hold it up.
It will show up eventually,
Yeah.
and I know there's a lot of frustration and stuff like that, and again, I apologize, but either you had to go after it aggressively and knock it out as far as the rocks, the structures of the road, stuff like that, or we stretch it out for another 5 years and don't see any progress. I guess what's the better of two evils, you know, so.
And I don't, like I said, I don't mean to sit here and pick on any windrow as the enemy, but I think the overall goal, like, in the general maintenance is like minimum to no windrow. Like,
Right.
in May, I'm not surprised to see a windrow on all of them. That's why, like I said, it's hard to judge that rain, because you get a big rain when you're trying to work roads in the spring, right? When's a good time to work roads? You're busy in the spring, summer's too dry, you're busy in the fall, and you can't work them in the winter. So you just gotta do them, and so I'm not judging you on that, or even picking on you.
There's
But
definitely some setbacks to the windrow. I mean,
Yeah.
and the washing beside this one, the damming up at the bottom where it's supposed to run off the road is another one, you know, it's, like I said, you have to try to,
Balance it.
exactly, I mean,
And the reason I picked on that too is I think there's some inadequate ditch mowing. I think you could piggyback several other things to the windrow, like, that's why I think, like, even more maybe your pro windrow operators, I think that needs to be our overall goal, is by like beginning, middle of June, we really shouldn't have a windrow, because
right.
even just the ditch mowing and the maintenance, I think we would see improvements all the way around if we had a reduced or eliminated windrow. Other than your obvious, you're really trying to work a chunk of road, hey, that's gonna have a foot windrow for luck, you're pulling some side, you're pulling gravel, that, when you're working on stuff, you're working on stuff, but on 12th Avenue, that's not really seeing anything but a route blading once a month, once every 2 months. I would really like to see no windrow on those, cause I don't know if I see the value on that if you're not doing something specific to that.
Okay.
That would be my gripe, but that being said, 2 days after that big rain, we were dry too, so that does, there's something to be said that the roads, I mean, it's not like they were mud holes for a week, I'm sure there's spots, I'll probably get a call now,
Yeah.
but I would just say, even mine was borderline untravelable during the rain, and a day and a half later, it was very travelable, so there's something to say that road obviously was draining, and that, so it wasn't all a lost cause, and it was the worst thing ever, so.
Cause they've been, you know, better traveling than they've been for years. A smoothness, you know, and
that is some of the stuff we're trying to achieve, is a smoothness on it, and once things get straightened out, like I said, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, so anybody listening, again, please understand that there's going to be good and bad at the same time. It's not gonna just happen and become good overnight.
These good smooth roads, can you put speed bumps in there?
yeah,
Slow down to keep the binder on the road.
they're almost too.
The washboards will show up, Dan, I don't know why you gotta put them in, they're gonna show up.
I will say this, Russ, I called McIntosh County
Yeah.
after that little paper article and, asked them several questions, and they got quite a bit less rain in McIntosh County than we did. And their road superintendent told me that many of their roads were destroyed. So, just to piggyback on the fact that, I, for one, think what you're doing is working in areas, and some of the stuff you're doing, McIntosh County is doing the exact same thing, windrows, 2 passes, and had less rain, And I was told by their road superintendent, they've got a mess over there too. So, I just wanna go on record to say that McIntosh County is not light years ahead of us. They were in the exact same situation with half the rain we had, so.
Yep.
I think you should know that I did some checking and that's what I was told by your counterpart in McIntosh County.
And also, I got some literature sent to me from Campbell County, what the school district did to keep the people off the roads and the buses off the roads, and they didn't get near the moisture we got. And they were trying to save the roads and just respect the roads people. And maybe that's what we gotta implement in our county, just to save these roads if we can. Even though we were criticized that we shut down the postal, FedEx, UPS, all of that. It would have been no different if we'd have had a 10-day snowstorm.
Right.
Everything would have been stopped.
It would've been a lot different,
Right? Yeah.
because we would've had about 6 feet of snow.
Yeah,
I mean,
6
I
to
mean,
10
I
feet of
think people
snow.
underestimate how much moisture we got. I mean,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I mean, really, if
Think
you,
about it,
if you
it's
compute it into that, usually what, an inch of rain's a foot of snow? So, I mean, you're,
6 feet of snow.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I
Imagine.
think,
No.
I think overall, to be able to travel the roads a day or two after a major
Yes.
rain like that for the most part, yeah, could have some things been better, yeah, from 30,000 feet up, you could have picked on a lot of stuff. I find it very hard to believe that there was some county out there that was prepared to handle 7 inches of rain
No.
and really not have a hiccup or not have some issues. I
Well,
just don't- I don't-
it's interesting to me is, how many road superintendents have we had in the last 10 years? 4?
4 or 5.
5, okay? How people would think that having a road superintendent for 6 months you've been here, would turn these roads around overnight, and that they'd be great, and that you trying something is destroying roads, cause it doesn't happen overnight, you're right. But it's frustrating that roads that were in bad shape 6 months ago, and they were in bad shape 5 years ago, and they were in bad shape 10 years ago, are not going to get fixed in 6 months. I ask people for some patience and some understanding and some respect for these guys that spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday working back on these roads to get them back in travelable shape and get the ruts out. I just ask that people have a little bit of understanding, because it does take some time, and I know that your intention, Russ, is a long game, not a short game. It's not to fix these roads overnight, but to fix these roads to hold up over time, so.
And I wanna say something too, thanks, Jim. I am so tired of the nature of the people out here, of this degrading of our county people. Instead of uniting the people and bringing us together to save our infrastructure and working together, it's this constant destroying.
Yeah.
It's gotta end within the county, for the better of Emmons County. And I'm just saying that from my personal standpoint, and I feel that even amongst the board and the other people, from what I got back from people.
We have good employees.
Yes.
We do, and we have as good of equipment as pretty much anybody that I've seen, short of the major counties that have way more resources. I go to Kidder, I go to McIntosh, I go to Logan, they don't have any, it's not like, oh wow, I wish we had that, we have that, and we have guys that can run them. You know, there's always tweaks, there's always things that could be better or worse, but I think we have a good crew of guys. I think it's always a work in progress, and we have a massive county to maintain. That's, I always like to use the analogy, we have roughly 1,200 miles in this county. If 20% of the roads are in bad shape, 20% of anything, you're like, oh, that's not so, 80% is good, right?
Yeah.
20% is 240 miles of road, like, I just don't think you understand the gravity of the situation of what we have to maintain,
And you
it
don't.
doesn't mean that people griping are wrong, I'm not trying to throw that, but I think there just needs to be a little more consideration to just, oh my god, it rained and it's muddy and someone's to blame. It's like, well, sometimes what's to blame is the fact that it's just, we're driving on dirt roads and they're wet. And I think just there needs to be some consideration. There's always things we can improve on, that Russ can improve on, that the guys can improve on. But as a whole,
Some people shouldn't live on gravel.
well, I mean, even just to go with that far, I think we have as good a crew as we can, I mean, we have a good crew, guys, we really do. I've been around long enough with this, I've been around construction, and we have guys with pretty good attitudes that wanna go to work, wanna do good things. Nobody's out there purposely ruining a road. nobody, you know, and I agree with Dan's comment that I just don't think that these guys get enough respect for the
No,
work
they
they do. They don't, I think they do 100 great things and it goes unnoticed, they do one bad thing and
Yeah.
it gets blasted
Tear 'em
out
apart.
everywhere, and that's
Yeah.
really, if you wanna keep good guys and you wanna do, you're gonna have a hard time doing that if you're treating them like crud all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
This
we're trying to fix these roads on
That's
a
right.
limited budget.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're not raising a whole bunch of taxes and we're trying to do these without having to raise taxes any higher than the state's making us raise them,
Yeah,
you know? But it's gonna take time. And I just ask for some patience to let Russ and the guys do their thing. And,
Yep.
you know, this 7, 8, 9, 10 inches of rain, whatever everybody got around here, it's a once in 100-year deal. So you have to look past this deal.
I'm just laughing because I've seen it 3 times, but you're.
Well, okay, according to science, it's a once in a 100-year
struggle though,
deal.
it is, because
Right.
it- like you said, you don't think you'll see that again, but we seen it in Braddock that time, it wiped out the whole north end of the
10
county.
inches
Yeah.
of rain.
And then the Rice Lake seen the same thing in like 2018 or 19,
Yeah.
we spent all summer down there
Yeah.
fixing it. It's
And
becoming
maybe it
more and
might
more
start being a
frequent.
once in a 5-year deal or once
Right.
every 2-year deal.
Well, I mean, yeah.
The
but
rainfall we got was an act of God, and it was a blessing.
Yeah.
It was delivered.
But it was
Yeah,
like,
it was a blessing,
Yeah.
because it recharged the system.
Yeah, we were dry.
We were dry.
but I drove the roads after that first stretch when it, you know, cause it quit there over the weekend.
Right.
That first 3 inches of rain, there was nothing wrong.
Right.
I mean, if we would've had a 3-inch rain, we'd be back to dust control.
Yeah, no.
If that second 3 inches, like you said, the saturation,
Oh,
that
yeah.
came from that
The first
Last
cycle
week-
there was good, and
We
it
were
was
doing all
gone
right.
instantly, and that second one was, but we do have a lot of people helping as far as picking up rocks and stuff out of the windrows and stuff.
Yeah.
The blade operators, they're stopping them, encouraging them to continue that, you know, to help us
Yeah.
and stuff, cause they're tired of driving on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How else do we get rid of them? I really don't know.
Yeah.
There's people on the old 83 corridor where you were poking them out, and you guys were out there physically on foot picking rock. And there's people, and men, women and all, said we've never seen this in all the years we've lived in these areas. What was happening, they said, granted, there's no more rock, we're not hitting them rock anymore, but now we've got chuck holes, but what are we gonna do? It's part of the system, you know? Eventually, those potholes will fill,
Yep.
and they'll pack in. You just gotta give and take.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna fix any of these issues if we're not supporting each other.
That's right.
I mean, I mean,
That's
we don't
right.
have to agree on everything, and we're not going to, and I don't think we should, but I think the overall goal is, it's like, sitting in here and having a couple commissioners tear down the road boss or the road guys is not gonna be productive.
No.
And, you know, out in the county, there's always gonna be complaints. A lot of them are probably even merited, there's certain issues, the only time we fix something is because of a complaint, because you don't know about it until someone says something, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say complaining is bad, but there's a level of it where it's like trying to bring an issue about to get
Yes.
fixed, and then just trying to tear people down, and if we're gonna just have people out there tearing people down because it's not their guy, or it doesn't benefit the way they want to, it's just not gonna be productive, so that's,
Unified is key, in my opinion.
well, I think that's the only way we're gonna move forward.
That's right.
Well, the other thing I seen with this rain event, there were some private landowners out helping with the road too, just to get it passable.
Oh, yeah.
That's commendable, working together with them.
Yeah, we had, I know.
You had it down there too, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
We're all in it together. That's just the way
I
it
think you
is.
should feel that you're being supported, Russ, I hope.
You're
And
supported.
so are all of the rest of our county employees by us, for sure.
Okay, I will spread the word and thank you guys.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Russ.
Anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
That's all I got.
Well, then, we're gonna ask you that old tar burner, is anything happening with that tank or nothing?
No,
Nothing, okay.
nothing yet, no.
Okay.
Some of the things that were on earlier have just, you know, as the change of seasons comes through, just get,
Yep,
you get busy and you don't get back to it, so.
Yep,
Yeah.
But no, nothing as of yet.
okay.
I'm gonna probably swing out to the shop after this. I'll bring my laptop. I don't know if I don't think I'll be around tomorrow to be able to do
Okay,
that Verizon tracker, so maybe I can, just a heads up, I don't know who's gonna do it tomorrow, but maybe you could ask them if they had 10 minutes today, or,
yeah, I sure can, I can get back to you here when I leave here and let you know. But I think it's the same guy coming both days, from my understanding, but.
Yeah, if he's around after the meeting, I'd like to come out and just get that accomplished.
Okay,
You don't need to do anything with this, Russ, do you, on this, utility permit
Yeah,
for
you
South
guys,
Central
he
Water?
already did, but then you guys have.
Okay.
Do you need to authorize any of that? Were there gonna be
Did.
horizontal?
He already did.
I did
Okay.
Did you?
for Southwest Water.
Yeah, for South Central?
He
No.
did that, yeah.
Okay, that's all approved, okay.
But you guys
I-
usually
okay.
approve it. He
Okay.
comes out,
But
he
Rob-
goes out and prior approves it.
Okay,
And then
so
you
you went
guys-
out on site, okay.
And looked at it, right? Yep.
They'll horizontally bore, correct? Okay.
From my understanding, or whatever the permit says is what we looked at, I guess.
Yeah.
If it's,
I've
if,
got it here,
yeah.
Craig, you wanna grab it here?
I would be curious, Russ, when you dig up some of these culverts that were undermined, if they, let us know if they had holes in them, cause that could pose a really big problem if we're starting to see these.
It started up in Tenvic, the ones up there by the, was it Tenth Avenue, right?
No, that's 8th.
8th Avenue.
Okay.
And, yeah, the shoulders of the road were perfect, and the middle of the road is collapsing. And then,
You want this
one happened out here by Ron Mossett, one's down south someplace by Cody's area there and stuff, and there's a few other ones. And yeah, the middle of the road is just washing away, so it's about the only thing I can think can happen
Yeah, I
is
think you're right.
there's gotta be a hole in there, so.
Collapsing, yeah,
There's a hole in it.
they're rusted through, yeah.
Yeah, that could, I mean, there were some people that were close, right?
Yep, exactly, yep.
That were close when they drove over and it collapsed kinda after they got over it.
Right. It could be real bad, huh? Yeah.
You know, but it's one of them things too, it's how do you.
Yeah,
how do
you won't
expect
know
it to
until
really
it
happen,
happens,
right?
yeah.
Till it actually happens, you don't really know,
You
right?
know?
Thanks for running out that Saturday night, or that, was it Saturday night, flagging that one
Well, out here.
out
by-
east out here?
Is that the one by Singer?
By,
Uh,
Did you ever
Stoppers,
look at that?
yeah, Stopplers.
yeah, by Stoppers.
Okay, okay,
He ran out there, I had gotten a call on it too, and
okay.
he had called back before I called back about, that was a close one, that actually somebody drove over it and then it collapsed right after they got on the other side, and he went out and flagged it, so nobody drove in the hole, so.
Yeah.
Collapsed bad.
He was out to look at it.
Just on the side of the culvert, the road just, it lets loose and there's a gap in there, you know, but like I said, I've did a few culverts in my day, but I've never seen this like this, and we've had not only one, but I think there's five or six of them here in this last, that have did the same thing.
Last month.
So it's the way that they were maybe placed years ago.
Possibly, I
Possibly.
mean, there's a few scenarios that could work, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't have an answer for it yet.
I've seen it on some culverts that are fairly new, the way they were placed, big culverts, where they were set too high on the elevation, the way they were cut on the firm ground, they were set higher, and they were undermining on the bottom side.
Yeah,
I don't, was that ever,
They're low enough,
they're not low enough.
yeah.
right, and that does happen, except these, the shoulders are perfect, it seems like the shoulders are good, you know, the inlet and outlet,
Yeah,
and it's out in the middle of the road.
It's almost gotta be a
Where
hole.
the caving is happening, but,
It's gotta be a hole or a void in the,
Or a
rust
place
through.
where it wasn't packed in.
yeah, exactly,
A
yeah,
lot of times it splices too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have a culvert that'll settle and then it's, you got, you know, 80-foot culvert there to make it across the road most of the time, and you got 2 40-footers and
Oh,
you got a
then that
splice,
opens
or
up.
a lot of them is the concrete ones, a lot of them were just butted together,
Oh,
they
yeah,
weren't, they weren't actually bracketed, so
Cabled
over time
together.
they,
yeah.
and then you start getting water, washes a hole underneath them, and the next thing you know, it's a cavity, and then it just collapses, so.
So the steel nowadays, do they have bolts that clip and you tighten and bring them together? On
They're-
steel culverts,
no, they're still banded,
they're still disbanded? Okay, okay. And no bolts through the bands when they come together? Okay,
the band's usually got about 5 bolts in it roughly,
okay,
and it just pulls it tight, and
okay.
it overlaps each culvert, 3-4 rings,
Oh,
I mean,
that's
it's
what I was
pretty,
wondering, yeah.
it's a pretty good sized band. A lot of the older ones had a pretty skinny band on them, like Aaron's talking about, so they have improved things a little bit.
Cause the bigger culverts like you placed out at Center, weren't they bolted?
No, they were banded as
Just
well.
banded, okay.
Well, you don't want anything to catch debris inside either, is the reason why you don't have the bolts sticking
Oh,
in,
that's
so.
the one.
The overlap of the corrugations is supposed to hold it, then once you compact it, the corrugations of the
compressed.
I mean, that's why you do the compaction and small lifts,
Yeah.
that's supposed to,
Yeah.
the ground is supposed to give it the structure it needs, if it's not
Bind and
properly
bridge.
compacted and it's not sealed, then it's gonna fail.
Yeah. Yep, okay, anything else, guys?
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Russ, appreciate it.
See you guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Russ.
Airport authority reps, they probably won't be in until probably 1, huh?
We do that utility permit right away?
We probably should, let's do that. Utility permit for South Central Regional Water to install a 2-inch rural water line crossing 8th Avenue Southeast from the southeast quarter of section 32, township 134, range 76. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Miller, second.
Second.
Magrum, all in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carried. You wanna do some more miscellaneous, guys?
Yeah,
We might as
they're
well.
definitely not gonna be here till 1, that
Okay.
airport, so I don't believe so.
So let's go down to
The only other
miscellaneous.
thing, Mr. Chairman, is Jim Hyde here for something, or?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jim.
I just wanted to do a follow-up. You guys never ever let me know what was going on out there, whether or not you're gonna put gravel down or not. Remember I was in here at that meeting?
Yep. Did you ever get the easements from, what's his name, from, did we ever get easements from,
Wendy Wang?
Wendy Wangler?
What has he got to do with it?
Well, I think he's got the property on the south side of your roadway coming in and out of there, doesn't he?
Well, he's actually got, if I remember right, he had property going through the roadway, cause he owned a railroad track, or somebody owned the railroad track.
Right, we own our railroad track, he owns Ketchum's railroad track. When you guys made the road, that was your decision to make that curve in there instead of going through the railroad
Railroad track.
hill.
Yep, yep.
Well, that was probably the state though too, cause the reason why I say that is the way that approach is perpendicular to the
It was
highway
Alex, so.
at the lower part of the hill though, cause there's clearance, there's a hill
For
there.
safety purposes.
Right, you probably couldn't have put the approach straight on the
No,
section
they
line.
couldn't.
Because of the, probably because the.
They've been cutting into that hill quite a bit.
Well, not even cutting into the hill, but even the sight distance from the top of the hill for Highway 83.
Visibility.
Well, yeah, cause you have to have a certain distance from the crown of the hill, that's for speed and safety.
Oh,
So,
they couldn't car through.
We-
You gotta drive out to see it, it was
But
common
not-
sense.
Right, but even just in general, cause you don't want
Yeah,
people pulling on the highway while.
They would have been going, it was as high as the train there,
I know,
cause that's where that train got stuck in 66, buried in snow.
yep.
Well, if I remember right, the issue was the easement needed to be acquired by a landowner to crop, cause otherwise it's a private road essentially there, until you get to the section line.
Yeah, I think Joe was working on that, or no,
Well, I think Skylar might have been too, so now that he's
Yeah.
got.
But the county put it in. The county came in and took all of the rock off the railroad track on our land, without us knowing. Ralph Law, or, John, or, who, Alex,
Okay.
yeah, they took every rock out of there, I mean, I would've had enough to do the road. That road hasn't been done in 62 years.
Oh, he took all the crushed rock off that
Off
railroad.
that, yeah, they went in there when we went to Bismarck once, I took Mom up there for doctor's when we come back, it was all gone.
So what would it take, 2 loads of gravel, roughly? Just of that.
I'm not in that, I couldn't tell you how much,
So you're looking for what, just gravel on that curve?
no, I'm looking for the gravel for the whole road, I'll spread it, you know, I've got a box scraper and a tractor. It's just like, that's the worst part of it, I mean, I couldn't get out with my car after the second rain.
Yeah,
I could get out with my pickup, yeah, but I mean, it was so squishy, front wheel drive, that car just wanted to go to the ditch, so
yeah. We had a lot of that. It was a mess.
but in that many years, and the road's cut down, I've got a ridge probably on both sides like that.
They never bladed? That's a
They
section.
bladed
right?
it, yeah,
Okay.
but Dad never let them blade it, they bladed it once, but he wouldn't let them come in because he used a sickle mower back then.
Yeah.
So he graded it all the time himself, all those years. they didn't come in until I moved back, because I sold his 50/20, so mom would have the money and stuff.
Yep, yep.
But he did all the snow blowing and stuff, and then when I moved in, they were coming in for snow, but shoot, if you remember, they got stuck with 2 or 3 of them that one time. Never did get me out, I had to get somebody to come with a snow blower. They got 2 of the maintainers stuck out there and had a third one pulling the other 2 out. And they did that late in the day, so during the day it was warm and everything got soft. Well, they came at night, well, towards evening, well, then it was rock hard. They couldn't, yeah, and then I couldn't even get out with a snowmobile, because they had it so deep, I had to dig a ramp by hand so I could get up and everything. But I do my own snow blowing now, cause I got my tractor with a snow blower on it now, and I can do the gravel with the box thing, it's just getting the gravel out there. And I could even haul it, I bought a truck just because I'm gonna be hauling in dirt for leveling behind our shop. So I bought a 74 international, I'm gonna take the sides off and put two 2x12s on each side.
Well, that'd be considered an established trail, wouldn't it, after all the years?
I just know the discussion that we had was that stretch going to the section line from the highway, I don't believe Josh found any easement, so that's considered, private property, so then that's where, like we always said, we weren't gonna be maintaining private roads unless there's some kind of an easement, so that was the discussion I remember having, and then if I remember right, I think Wendy Wangler owned that small sliver, or one of the other, right?
Yeah.
So that was, the conversation was to try and secure them easements, so that way we could go in and put a little gravel on it and set it up, and then like I said, I don't know if that was in Skylar's neighborhood and then he left now, or, whatever happened, but it just got lost in translation with if those easements were done, cause, without it, that's private property, so if you're gonna be consistent about trying not to maintain private roads, then you need to secure the easement, I think that's where it was, so.
But why would it be a private road if the county put it in?
Because there's no easement off of the public right of way, generally in the county, when there's a road that goes off of the section line,
Right.
usually there's some kind of recorded easement, and then the reason was cause of the terrain, or there was a big water hole, or whatever,
Well,
so.
Even back then, they told us it was because of that hill.
Josh, whose land is that just to the south of that road, in that corner, that's Wendy's?
That's Ketchum's.
That's Ketchum, right?
But he bought the railroad,
Who did, Wendy?
just like that, that's Wendy's.
Cause the other part.
Because he was gonna put cattle in there and stuff, but then when he talked to Alex said, well, you gotta put a cattle crossing on both sides. And the cattle cross, one of those, and he'd have to do the same thing by Ketchum's farm. And he wanted to put these cheapies there, and Alex says, no, you gotta put, what's the code? And so those fence posts he put up, all those, 15 years ago? They're still all up with no wire on them. Yeah, he can't do nothing with that, and then he's got, from the road, you got, 32, 33 feet both directions that he's gotta stay away from? Yep, that's the easement, normally.
I think it's 60, isn't it?
Well,
It could be
he's talking
75
about
or
probably the
75.
gravel road there in the section line, it's probably 33 feet till it hits that highway right away, and then
Right,
it goes out to 75 or 100, whatever it is on the curve there, so.
Could be, yeah.
Depends.
And did they get an easement from Ketchum's?
Yeah.
I think they did.
I thought the easements were secured, except I think Wendy's was the only one they were still waiting on, that's the last thing I remember hearing about it, and then either the weather turned, or, I just,
So that
No,
little
it got
stretch where
done,
the
so.
railroad was at is Wendy's.
Joe had a hearing here this morning at like 10:30 or 11, so that's why he's not here, but that'd be the question, would be just if a guy got an easement to cross that or whatever, cause that was My recollection was, is that's how we were trying to stay consistent, if we had easements, then we'd go in and gravel it, or,
And Wendy wouldn't sign it.
I have no idea on that, I just know that I thought that was the one we were waiting for, cause I thought the other ones got signed, and there was like one more, but that was probably in like September, October last year, and so if I remember right, that's
I
kinda.
talked to Wendy, we drove out there.
Okay, so
And I don't think he'll sign it. He's reluctant, he's gonna lose the land. That's just, that thing.
Well, it's grandfathered in, isn't it? I mean, what is he gonna do?
Nothing. All you're doing is giving an easement.
Right, I mean, he can't stop us from using that, right?
No. You can't, that's an
I mean, that's
established
grandfathered
trade.
in. What wouldn't he approve? I don't understand. Cause he comes in on that road and he goes down, cause he still has his that big
He's
rock.
got the crushed rock to the south, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not even crushed rock, he's got that big rock.
okay.
Cause that's where that train collapsed.
Oh, is that where that was at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was years
The
ago.
whole hill.
Remember that?
I do, yeah, yeah.
That's when they.
That
kind of-
train,
That's when they
at the
abandoned
end there, that
railroad.
train, when it come up, you go, everybody get out of the train, but the guy inside, and they'd go, chug, 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 and then they'd coast a little bit, and chug, chug, chug.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see the box cars even doing this crap.
Holy.
That was kinda spooky.
That's when they abandoned that railroad.
Yeah.
Yep. Cause I think they were going down to Hague all the time, when it wasn't Strasburg.
But they fixed it twice, I think, it collapsed, you know, and pushed the whole hillside down.
I wish they'd still be in. Yeah. Take all the pressure off the roads.
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Hyde. I mean, what are your guys' feelings? We can't,
I mean, it can be done, the board can fix it, I just, like I said, I'm not saying for or against, my recollection to probably why it isn't done is because the easements could maybe get secured, or, but again, we had a transition at road superintendent and all that too, so I don't know if that was Joe was handling it, Skylar was handling it, or then it just kinda got lost in the translation, and I don't know if you necessarily need that easement, but my opinion or belief was that if we were gonna try and stay consistent, that's what our goal was just, we're gonna try and have easements by the county to go in and be able to work on stuff. If it's not on the public right of way, then I feel we should have an easement. That's just my belief. That doesn't mean the four of you don't have any different opinions, and I don't think you're breaking any law. It's more so if you wanna be consistent in your policy, then that's what you wanna try and do, so that's.
You said they did have blades in there before the county?
Oh, yeah, they did it, ever since I came back 17 years ago to take care of my parents. So they wouldn't have to go to the home, and
So they
we
crossed.
quit, Dad had passed, so they came in and bladed it all the time.
So they did cross the easements on the other
and
side?
it's a section line,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a section line. Yeah, they did it all the way from the highway all the way in.
so they could gravel the section line,
Right.
Well,
that portion, and then he could grade the rest of it.
Well, like I said, it's just a matter of policy consistency. If you don't believe that this is inconsistent with your policy, then there's nothing wrong to do with it. I'm
Like I
not-
said, I got that box blade that you wouldn't even have to work it.
And the other thing that changed probably from when they were doing a little more maintenance on it is the railroad probably had more influence on that. And maybe there was, you know, Alex and Nick and them guys used to know the guys that ran the railroad that told them, yeah, or what, it just, once that got sold into private hands, there probably should be a conversation as far as how it wants to be maintained, because if you get into a scenario where you don't have an easement, you could possibly get legal action. And that doesn't mean you'd lose, but you might be involved in one. Like, that's where the point was to talk to these landowners, get permission, you know, maybe Wendy doesn't wanna sign an easement, but he'll sign something that just gives like temporary permission to improve the road. I don't know, I feel like the public relations should be that we're not just gonna drive over top his property and gravel the road. Even if we have the right to, we should still be trying to coordinate. That's how we want people to
Should
do.
use there's rapport.
Well, that's how we want people to do business with our citizens in our county. I feel we should be the same way. So that was probably why I stood on the belief of, if you can secure an easement, that's the best way. It doesn't mean if you can't get an easement, you should never touch it. It just, if you can't get an easement, we need to try and figure out a way to do something, but I don't wanna trample on people or just cross their property without asking or being reasonable, so.
Have you talked to Wendy?
Bill. Haven't talked to Wendy.
No,
No, he wanted us to buy that little piece by our road. I had nothing to do with it, cause Jerry was gonna get the farm. So I said, don't talk to me, I said, I don't know nothing about that, that's not part of mine, and we kinda got into it, that's 20 years ago. You know, and his son was even saying, Dad, just listen to him, cause I was telling him, it doesn't pay to put cattle crossings there. I was trying to tell him, I said, I'm not trying to be mean, I said, the county put the road in there, and, you know, cause he wanted to put cattle on the other side of our road, and it's only like 50 feet, if that,
yeah,
30 feet maybe. And then the road would have an easement, so he couldn't put it there anyway. Even if he did put 2 cattle crossings, how many cattle can you put in that little tiny spot?
Yeah.
yeah,
Cause then you'd have to have water in there and everything else.
it's a waste of money. Yeah.
And that's why he never did anything with either side of the tracks. Almost all the way to his place. He's got all the fence posts in, but he never wired it. He does have a little portion by his shop right there. Got a little portion of it so he can put cattle in. But I don't know if he's got it even all the way down to Ketchum's approach, which he could do without putting in cattle crossings.
Well, I agree with what Aaron said, we should probably get something, and I don't know if Joe's here now, we should probably get something from Wendy.
Yes,
Just an agreement, just that we, yeah,
we sent him, I sent him one, back, a while back, and I actually sent to 2 landowners to try, because we wanted to give permission to cross there.
yeah.
And
Well, I can talk to Wendy if you want to.
Everly signed theirs and returned it, so we were okay with that, and then Wendy never signed his, and then I think Skylar was gonna talk to him, but he didn't wanna sign it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
maybe
just,
Russ could talk to
he's just on.
Well, I just feel like that was probably part of the reason it didn't get done, is
Get done.
because like you said, with Skylar leaving, that was one of the things that was unsettled. Russ takes over, doesn't know nothing
Yeah.
about it. So I think bringing it up to Russ, maybe he can negotiate a temporary construction easement, just so, like Wendy doesn't feel like he's signing something
something.
long
to get
term.
right away.
But it's enough so we can go and haul a few loads of gravel and make peace with everybody, and just, I mean,
Yeah,
'cause
I'm
like I
gonna
said.
take it now, contact Russ, I'll talk to him.
Okay, I think that's.
He had a little bit of a problem with me because when I was taking all that snow out, when they got stuck,
Yeah.
well, the banks on that road were so doggone deep. Well, I spent 3 days with a grain shovel getting that out of there, and here he comes with the snowmobile, and he gets up on top of that bank and he watches me, I was like 10 foot from him. And I said, don't go there, just go around so it doesn't, down he goes, and then he gets to the other bank and he filled the road with his damn snowmobile. Again, and he
Sure,
took
yeah.
off, so I waited till he come back. I went after him and we had our fun.
Okay, I'll talk to Russ after the meeting, and we'll get back.
I mean,
to
I
this,
think he
okay? We
probably
gotta move
cooled
on.
down by now,
Yeah,
but,
yeah,
I mean, that pissed me off when he did.
yeah.
He gunned it and made 3 more foot of snow, and I've been out there all 2 days in a row.
We gotta move on with the next guys, there's some more people here. Appreciate you coming in.
Okay.
I'll talk to Russ and see what happens, okay?
Okay, when will I know?
Pardon?
Nobody let me know last time, so when you got.
I'll let Russ and he'll probably get a hold of you. I'll let Russ get a hold of you, okay?
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is this the airport authority?
It's not till 1, so
No,
we'll just keep
so
moving.
that ain't that. Let's go down to miscellaneous, huh? Yep. Liquor license for Todd Newsman, doing business as the Quincy Bar for a special event held on June 28th and the 29th, 2025, at the Beaver Horse Club grounds located on a portion of the southwest corner of section 36, township 131, range 76.
There's 4 of them for Todd.
Yeah.
4 of them?
You want to do them all in one?
Probably
motion?
do them, should I read them all?
I don't know, it's up to you. I did talk to Gary Sanders, because there's a lot of liquor licenses out there
Okay.
this month, and he said he's okay with all of them.
All of them, okay.
Okay.
Well, I would assume, so the first one for Todd is the
Rodeo.
Rodeo grounds.
then there's probably several other just
Another
rodeo
rodeo
events.
grounds.
Ranch rodeo sometimes.
Yep.
And the other one's the rodeo ground, the third one is also Beaver Horse Club grounds.
And the fourth one
The
is.
fourth one is a special event held on August 28th, 2025 at lots 9 and 10, Block 2, Volks, First Edition, Hague City, North Dakota, by the Cabins in Hague City, 401 Maine, for an auction sale. Whatever that's all about.
He's having an auction sale and he's gonna have a session
Oh,
stand
bar.
going on, and then he's gonna wanna sell some milk.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve,
Sounds
I
like
like
an
those
auction
kind
sale
of
to go
auctions.
to.
Start early and don't auction anything off till about 3 in the afternoon, they're gonna be the best prices you've ever had. I'll make a motion to approve, the liquor licenses for the Quencher for all 4 events.
Okay,
Second.
second by who? Magrum?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Item number 5, building permit for Greg and Melissa Rorick for adding a 70 by 40 addition to an existing garage in the north 700 feet of lot 5 and north 700 feet of the southwest quarter, section 6, township 132, range 76. Greg and Melissa Rorick.
Just north of Linton.
North of Linton?
Yep, on the west side of the highway, so.
Oh, that's up there on that little corner? Okay.
Till the rest.
Used to be the Warner place there,
Yeah.
Oh.
right on the north side of Linton.
Yep. Everything's good on back
Yeah,
sides?
we changed the plan, so he'd be outside of the 125, but he's gonna be slightly more than 125, which is our primary highway setback, so.
So what do you have to be then on the setback on a highway? Do you have to be back 100 feet also then from the?
125 from the center, but they have
Right.
to be outside their right of way, because there are spots where it goes to 150, so then we make it 150 plus, you know.
Good.
So like here it is 100 here, and then it goes 125 here. I think even south a little bit is 150, but his is 100, but then ours is 125, so he has to be.
Isn't the county like 100 from the backside of the center line, backside it says 33-foot easement? You're back 33 feet and then from the 33, you gotta be another 100 back? Isn't that what it is?
A primary highway, it's 125 from center, regardless of what the easement is.
Right, okay.
That's what you're asking.
Is there a motion for that? To accept?
Yeah, if it's all in order, I'll make a motion.
Jim Vanderwerf makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Miller seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, plat for lots 1, 2, 3, and 8 in the north half, lot 9 of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 27, township 132, range 79.
Alright, so this is some of Jack Doctor's and Ken Walt's properties. So when they platted this is really Glenwood Acres. They didn't get all the lots platted at the same time, they've been doing it in sections, so this is the last lots to get platted out there.
Okay.
All these lots really, they already exist, that's how they own it, they just, to clarify the subdivision, they are recording.
Okay.
Waltz has given Doctor a little, they're selling a little piece of land here, so they had to get these lots surveyed and platted as such, so there's no
Okay.
issue with these.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Gardner makes a motion to approve it. Second?
Second.
By Jim Vanderwerf. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, building permit for Gerard Schwab to move in a 64 by 32 modular home and attach a 36 by 32 garage on the west half of the southwest quarter of section 25, township 131, range 76. I think that's already setting on the farmstead.
They brought it in, but they haven't put on piers, they brought it in before the rain came. They
Okay,
didn't
to
want
get
rain
it off the roads, okay.
You skipped number 7, but I'll go to.
Yeah, we got number 7.
That's alright, I can do.
Huh?
You skipped number.
What did I say, number 7?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
Number 8, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, so, yeah, Schwab, he's gonna be good, his is actually 100 feet, cause he's a minor. This would be a minor road here, but Yeah, he's got it sitting here for now, but they're putting on piers.
Right, west of the
Yeah, he'll
shop.
come back and put it on for him,
Okay,
so.
okay.
And then he's gonna tear the old house down, he said.
So he's bringing this ahead somewhere to the south? Or it's gonna sit right
West
where
of
you got it
his-
outlined?
Yeah, just on the west side of the current house,
Okay, okay.
so,
And his garage will be up there on the
Yeah.
north end?
current there.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept it? A motion for the setting of this property, this building?
move.
Gardner? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Miller?
I'm abstaining due to a conflict of interest.
Okay. Take a vote, who's all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, building permit for Austin Olhauser to build a basement, move an existing house with a single stall garage to set down and build on a 28 by 30 addition to the garage. That's Eugene Geffro's house, is it not? That they're moving?
I don't know which
I think
house they're
that's where
bringing
it's
there.
coming from. I think so.
Mr. Chairman, you still skipped number 7, just so you know.
I did what, sir?
Well, you said,
Did I
you
skip
thought you
number
misspoken, but you
Okay,
actually
I'm
skipped
sorry.
number 7, so
Okay,
no,
I'm
not
sorry.
a problem, just a reminder.
Okay, we'll go back to 7. We'll get 9 after we do this.
Yeah,
number 9.
I'd say do 9, but then don't forget.
Jump
7.
back to 7, sorry, thank you, Mr. Magrum.
Yeah, so his house, it's greater than 100 feet from this section line here. You know, I did it that route in case this would become a road eventually. It's probably closer to 300 feet, and then he's gonna get a deed and plat out a lot here, so Sheila signed the building permit since it's in their name right now, so.
Does that have to be 10 acres when he plots out?
He actually only has to have 1 acre.
Oh, he does.
Yep, but for, depending on taxes and
I'm gonna say
how you do it,
tax
then
burden.
10 acres is best, but if you get the exemption. you know. So I see no problem with that.
No problem with it?
Nope.
Is there a motion to accept item number 9?
I so move.
Mr. Magrum, second.
Second.
Mr. Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Back to item number 7. Plat of lots A and B of a tract of land previously described in document number 163657 in the southwest quarter of section 1, township 132 north, range 74 west of the 5th meridian, Emmons County. And that's whose property?
That is currently Andrew Vetter
Oh, okay.
as this. John Vetter has the north part, but he's splitting the yard. Like so, acreages were good. I don't know the exact reason, but for the plat, I don't need that, I just checked the measurements, and everything else is there, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Gardner makes a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Vanderhorst, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Back to item number 10. Liquor license for Connie Doctor, the Dock Bar and Grill LLC.
They're buying our
Jack's
place
place.
by the bay.
Jack and Connie.
They bought our place by the bay.
Okay.
So like the city, we just approved this, it goes to the state, they do all their checking like normal. Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Gardner makes a motion, there's a second to the motion.
Second.
Mr. Magrum, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
One more thing, so the old liquor license for
Our place.
our place, that goes away, right? I mean, we just, okay.
This is establishing a new liquor license.
Yes.
Okay. Number 11, plat for Jangula Riverviews subdivision in the southeast quarter of section 8, township 130, range 79, in the 5th principal meridian, Emmons County, North Dakota.
That's the one you got, that tube there.
That's a big one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the one.
okay.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I think we
Yeah.
lost something there.
there it is.
You'll have to sign that.
This has to be signed if it's approved. He's gonna show it up in here.
Yeah.
Jangula Riverview Farms. Where's that at?
Riverview subdivision, so Pat Tail, there's the resort bar right here.
Was that Pius?
Oh, it's up on the hill there.
Yeah, there's that big hill right here.
Right.
On the south
Oh.
side.
18 acres.
So he owns this whole area here, and he's only platting out 2 1-acre lots here, and then creating this another lot. But they created a subdivision to make it easier for recording, because in the future, they may start breaking off other lots, but they're not sure at the moment right now, so making a subdivision makes it easier to record that and add in the near future, so. So I don't see any issues with it, the 2 lots are 1 acre. It's got a road with the easement already on the north side, so.
What is property going for out there now? Anybody have any idea? No idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that was his,
Everything's good?
is this Ron Daniel? I think that was his wife's family property, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know who it was before. Not sure.
1 acre lots.
You mean, were you talking about like the Myers?
Yeah,
That
He's
sounds
just
right.
I think that was
Cause I think they had some
Richard and-
property on the end of that
Richard
parcel.
Meyer, that
too,
area, I
so-
think they had a,
Richard
or
Meyer.
they had a
I
cabin.
think so.
They own- I think they
If
own
you
some-
go,
I think
if
they
you
own
go
some more, too.
west to that next intersection by like Darius Jobs's
Yeah.
corner and then go south, the end of that road where there's like a gate and all that, that was
Yeah.
always the Meyer
Yeah,
property there,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there, so that makes sense, okay.
Yeah, Meyer family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
that road always dead ended into there and then that's like a private drive once you
I
get
bet
to
you these
that.
kids are
Yep.
gonna,
Hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I guess I
it.
never realized behind there that was all undeveloped like that, but
Yeah.
there's a hill there, so
There's
you
a
can't
hill,
see
you don't
much,
get
so.
back.
You don't see much, no.
I'll second.
Motion by Gardner, second by Nager. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 12, building permit for Austin Allen Schatz to build an 80 by 40 home on lot 1 of Jangala River Views, section 8, township 130, range 79.
Right, I don't have that scanned. He came in yesterday, but he's buying one of these lots, that lot 1 right there.
Yep.
I told him to make it contingent, cause I usually want the landowner to sign the building permit instead of you guys approving it, and it's not in their name yet. So Ron said yesterday that he'll come in sometime this week, sign the building permit, given Shots, was it?
John.
Yeah, giving them permission to build, but they will be, I think he said he was gonna talk to Joe about getting a deed written out after this plat was approved, so. But setbacks were good, or where he's gonna put it.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the permit for John Schatz with the contingencies that it's approved by Josh and Joe for proper deeds and setbacks and signatures. So I just put contingent on the state's attorney and the, building inspector approval.
Okay, Mayor makes a motion, go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
I'd move to approve with the contingency that Josh and Joe essentially approve also. That's-
Okay. Second by Gardner.
I can second that, yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Back to, well,
Bills or
any
lunch?
other discussion, guys? You wanna go for lunch early and come back at 1 with the airport? Cause they aren't gonna show up till 1.
I would say probably not, maybe a little early.
Bills?
Anything else? If not, we'll recess and come back at 1 hour? What do you wanna be back at 1?
Say be back at, why don't we be back at 12:45, maybe we can do the bills and
We
then
get
if
it
they
done.
come in, then we'd be done.
Okay,